welcome everybody to another Second Renaissance podcast broadcast to you live from the True North. It's a good friend, Mr.BDA, and I'm here with the Gymster. We're here with Jimmy. Jimmy, are you there? Jimmy.
Yes, I am. Hello,
right,
brother.
Fantastic. How you doing, man? Jimmy, thank you for dropping by, man. Always appreciate it. Like the title says, you guys wanted it, and we've been talking about it for a long time, so it's time to talk about it now. This is the bodybuilding episode. We're going to be talking about PEDs, bodybuilding, the discipline it takes, the dangers that it takes, and we've got the expert here with us, Jimmy. Yeah, of course, Jimmy knows a lot about this. He's lived it, so we're going to dip into his mind. And if you guys got any questions, we'll be opening up the phone lines too, in case anybody wants to jump on and ask Jimmy a question in regards to all of this. So let's get right down to it. By the way, don't forget to like, subscribe, spread the silver gospels. You guys need to do that. The silver scrolls are there, and we are writing them with each show. So make sure to spread them all over the place. All right, fellas? Don't forget to like, subscribe, like I said, and hit that thumbs up button. Why don't you do that? All right.
Like your seed, baby.
That's right. Shout out to everybody out there. By the way, no says snack. I'm gonna give you one warning, man. If you don't stop spamming, I'm gonna have to time you out, man. Sorry. So just please stop spamming. I mean, I don't care what you say, as long as it's not racist or spastic. But right now you are spazzing out, so you need to stop doing that. All right, man? So shout out to MMA champ, the Quacks, Don Ramon champ, King Bucho in the house as well, Joker, Knockout Ned, Blue Collar Sports TV, Jaguar, Lobito in the house as well, Super Sardonic, the Quacks, J Money, and many more people to come. I'm sure, fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And listen, like I said, we're going to be open the phone line depending on how this conversation goes or how long it goes. So that's what we're going to get on to. Now, Jimmy, a little disclaimer here for the people out there. Here in Canada and in the United States as well, I believe, steroids are illegal, right? Unless you have a prescription.
Yes, they're illegal in all 51 states unless you're prescribed.
So let's just tell the people out there that we're not encouraging anybody, but just, we're just going to talk about some of the things that you went through. And so, steroids, it's a big thing in the bodybuilding world. So might as well talk about it. We can't hide it. And I think it's an interesting subject. So why not, right? We just got to tell people they don't take our advice as expert advice. I mean, Jimmy is something of an expert, but he's not encouraging you to follow his path necessarily. All right?
You know what's strange, too? For the longest time, they didn't even mess with people if you had them. It was if you got caught with the syringe. That was a big thing in the 90s. It was the syringe.
Really?
At first, yes, and first steroids were legal up until 1991. I think it was 88 when they changed the law where you need a prescription to have a syringe. So that was the danger until 91. That's when they outlawed the steroids because it became such a big thing on the black market. It wasn't for any health reasons. They just realized the mafia was into it. Everybody was making big dollars on it. So
interesting, man. Interesting. All right, so let's get right down to it, man. First of all, I'm curious about your story. Because most people can't see it because it's too small here. The Discord page that I have open, they can't really see. Even I can't see it full screen here. Your photograph, yeah.
Let me. And see, the thing is, I was married then and gone through divorce, and like all the pictures and all my videos, anything from that time is still there. I got a few pictures I can post of at least then when I was there, and that wasn't even still anywhere near as big as I got. But you can, if you see this picture when I posted, you'll be able to tell that I probably wasn't natural.
Well, I mean, listen, I don't understand why for some people, there's a stigma attached to doing steroids. If you're competing in a sport, okay, I understand why, because maybe somebody doesn't have the advantage, especially in boxing, somebody could get seriously hurt. But if you're just doing it for your own pleasure and for your own, because it's a goal that you want to achieve to look a certain way, I don't see what the problem with taking steroids is. HGH, whatever.
But for personal, the thing is, I tell people now, like I've learned a lot over the years, and I can tell you the main thing is people abuse them. They take way too much, and it's unnecessary. And I also would tell anybody under 18, or actually under 21, you have no need to be taking testosterone at that age. Your body's producing crazy amounts. I don't know how many kids around that age listening, but if there is, you all know. We all remember when we were 18. Fucking dude, you get a boner when the wind blew. You know what I mean? You're in class all of a sudden, Jesus Christ, you couldn't even control that shit. That's because your body produces like 3 times the amount of testosterone that it does even when you're 30. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. So you're saying for those guys, but I mean, if you want to look a certain way, obviously,
there's only so big you can get naturally.
That's what.
And try to get that way naturally. Even the guys, the natural bodybuilders who take it to the extreme naturally, they have to spend so much money on nutrition and on so many. It's just crazy.
Well, Jimmy, can I bring up something? I wanted to bring something up to
yes.
you. There was the guy who plays Thor, right, in the movies, in the new Marvel movies, Australian dude.
Helms.
Yes, Helms. He he's 6 feet 4 inches tall, and he's fucking huge when he's in the movies. When he's on screen, and he's got the pump and everything, he looks huge. Somebody on a Reddit thread made a post that said, if you guys want to look like that, stop procrastinating. Just eat right and work out. And a lot of people jumped on his ass. And even a guy, a very famous, I forget what his name is, it's a guy that makes videos about bodybuilding. He said, look, all these movie stars, they're on something. I mean, some of these fuckers, they prepare 3 months in advance for the movie and they gain 30 pounds of muscle. Jimmy, you're saying that's not natural, right?
No, it's not natural. No. When you're over 21 years old, especially over 30, if you're to put on 1 lean pound a month of muscle, that's the most you can hope for naturally. Talking about 1 pure pound, because usually you're putting on a couple of pounds of fat for every pound of muscle you're putting on when you're trying to bulk up. Not a couple of pounds, well, bodybuilders don't, but normal people. But you don't add that kind of mass naturally. No, he probably took growth hormone and under doctor's care. Just had it written for him through the studio. Probably went to Germany, had blood work done, because that's important if you're going to do, growth hormone.
Yeah, we'll just to clarify, Joker in the chat says you don't need steroids to look good by working out. I agree. You don't need steroids, but what we're saying is these huge motherfuckers that are not only big and ripped at the same time. Those guys, the way I understand it, Jimmy, you correct me if I'm wrong. I read an article about this that they were talking about how when you get the superhero guys, or Schwarzenegger in his prime, Sylvester Stallone, and he's got to take his shirt off, they plan everything way in advance just for that scene, so that their water levels are down, their fat levels are at their minimum, right? Isn't that the way they do it?
Oh, the more conceited they are. Oh yeah, especially bodybuilders. It's pure bodybuilding. It's a reverse anorexia. It's crazy. You become obsessed with it, and they're like that. Oh yeah, no, dude, I hung around with boys back in that time period of my life. Like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom or at the beach. Like, okay, sure you are. And they're in there doing fucking closed fist, push-ups and shit to get a pump because they want to walk the beach. Some guys just go right, you know what I mean? But there was an area, the beach we hung at had a gym, but you would always see the guys trying to, oh yeah, it's the game they play. But even what you eat the day before affects it. How much carbs you have before you go to bed will determine how much water is in between your skin and muscle.
Yeah, these guys
can control all that.
These guys have private trainers, right?
Of course. They have their food made for them. That's the thing, man. It takes so much. It's the most not conceit is the word, not the right word, but
time consuming,
self-involved. And self-involved. You gotta have a high level. It's just because it's all got to be about you, dude. Listen, I went on a trip. I was in Europe and I had a watch on beeping because every 2 hours I had to eat something. So, I'm eating rice out of just eating a bag of dry rice, throwing it in my throat and drinking water behind it to put it down. So just to get the carbs.
And you're not enjoying any of it. And you're not enjoying any of it, right?
No, not hating it. Cussing the fucking world. Socks caught my throat. I coughed it up into my nose. It was terrible. But I did it a bunch of times in my life. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, getting up in the middle of the night to eat.
How many times?
Terrible.
How many times a day were you?
No, I would. Oh no! Breaking it up, that's important. In fact, if you don't have access to food, to like good food, lean, whatever, it's better to eat a fucking Snickers bar than eat nothing at all. Whoa. Your body goes into a starvation mode right away. Some people get hyperglycemic and they get very moody. They get hungry. They get nasty. It's because it affects their body that much. And your body starts eating itself. And because muscle is made up of mostly water, whereas human fat looks just like a can of lard if you add a little pink color to it, because they used to have a jar of it right on the fucking Gold's Gym on the counter. I used to look at it all the time, like, but but yeah, so it's just easier to go after muscle. That's why even people who've been found lost at sea for a long time, they'll come to shore. They're skin and bones, but they're not like, you don't see anything like you would think lean. It's because they still their body fat is still high because their muscle is completely gone. The only thing that's left is pretty much fat and connective tissue.
Well, let me ask you this. Yeah. If let's say you're juicing, and we're going to get to what you were taking later, or what's people, what's the most popular stacking, as they call it. If you're working out, let's say 4 times a week, spending hours at the gym, and you're eating correct most of the time, and you're juicing, can you pretty much eat whatever you want on certain days, or?
Yes, I had a cheat day every week. Every week, Saturday was the day, and I would eat so bad that it wasn't a problem. You get to that point where you know your own body too. You can, but yes, to just what it does to you mentally, never to eat anything good. And it just wears on you. So anybody I used to train, I used to tell them, listen, pick a cheat day. Not when they were still blown all up. You would try to get, once they lose some weight, it doesn't take much for people to start feeling good about themselves, but it's important because remember, if it's a foreign thing, if you're eating clean 6 days a week, that 7th day when you eat nasty, right? You actually, first off, you feel it after a while. Like the Sunday, you don't want to eat nasty food. You just feel gross. You sweat it out. You just, you know what I'm saying? But you'll notice you'll start eating less and less bad on your cheat day because you just you don't like it. But it's foreign to your body, so it goes through it pretty quick. But no, by all means, I tell everybody, because everybody, you can't eat pizza. Fuck, you can't. Just don't eat it morning, noon, and night.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you go out on a Saturday night, man, stuff your face. You want a banana split? Eat that shit. Because if you don't, it's going to cost you the things that are really important in life. Relationships.
Jimmy, my problem. Look, I never got into the bodybuilding thing, but I was into the boxing for a long while there. And when I got, this was the most bizarre thing. When I got into the ketogenic diet, essentially for those of you that don't know out there, I wasn't eating any I was eating minimal carbs, no fruit, no rice, no bread, no potatoes even. Sweet potatoes, and every once in a while, it was mostly just vegetables and meat. And I was doing a lot of high-intensity interval training. And then I would look forward to that cheat day when you're supposed to carb backload. I was looking forward to it so much that that's all throughout the day, that's all I would eat. And it would become an obsession. Now maybe my mind has changed a little bit, and I would do it differently. I haven't touched the ketogenic diet in a while. But that's the other thing, right, Jimmy? The mental aspect of it, that it can be grueling at a certain point. How did you manage that at your peak?
Wicked. Yeah, and the diet you're talking about, it's even rougher because you're starving your body. Like I know guys who went full on K, when their breath gets their pH level, their piss is like, just because they would eat nothing but meat, like no carbs, egg whites, fish, steak, but you can eat as much fat as you want. So these guys would eat bacon with everything because it turns everything, it starts burning everything as energy. But it's, it can make you moody, but that's a rough diet. But no, I would just, the problem with seeing bodybuilding too, the steroids, it's the mental aspect as much as it is the physical when you come off them. That can be a real rough thing if you don't come off them right. And, to just stop cold turkey. And because what happens, first off, your nuts go away. You don't produce only testosterone. You lose your sex drive. Yeah, no, it can be, it can be rough. And just all the other aspects, you just don't get the same pump. You don't feel as strong. So, again, if you come off wrong, there's ways of coming off correct. But it is very mentally taxing.
Well, let me ask you this, because I've been meaning to ask you this for a while. When I was reading about the ketogenic diet and getting into it, there was a big debate that I found on the internet about how you can't bulk up and you can't get big if you're not eating carbs, meaning potatoes, rice, and all that. Is there a certain amount of truth to that, or what's your opinion on that?
No, I wholeheartedly agree. You can only get so big eating nothing but protein. It's very important to eat a lot of protein, but you want a carb load because that's the glycogen in your liver. What gives you the pump and everything. Very important.
But if you are doing the carb backloading, meaning 6 days no carbs, and then one day you carb backload and you gulp on whatever you want, then that you could bulk up, or is there a?
Well, not one day, no, because again, it's the carb. The carb meal, I feel, is one of the most important, is following any workout. So if you're working out, you want a carb load, especially if you're not taking any steroids. If you're doing it totally natural, what you eat becomes essential. It becomes crucial. So absolutely, you're at an advantage when you're taking steroids that you don't have to watch your diet as much. It's more important of getting the calories in, which is sometimes harder than you think. Getting clean calories in, like the FDA say the average adult is supposed to eat 2,000 calories a day. Your average bodybuilder most bodybuilders are trying to get around between 4,000 and 6,000 calories. Jeez. Now, if you're doing that with just clean food, you know how much that is, man? That's like 36 eggs, 2 pounds of chicken, a pound of beef, fucking 4 potatoes, rice. I mean, it's crazy to get up to that many calories clean.
I want to get back to that. You said you had a timer on and you had fucking Tupperwares with rice. What did a main week of meals consist for Jimmy?
Well, Sunday was cook day. I was fortunate my wife was into it too, so she was good with it. But so she would do a lot of the shopping. But Sundays, my buddy Scotty, who was my workout partner for years, would come to my house or his house, and we would just chef up. You know what I mean? We'd cook fucking 20 pounds of salmon. We'd cook fucking 20 pounds of chicken. You know, we'd get all that stuff ready. We'd pack it in Tupperware and it'd be in the refrigerator. Just throw it in the day before we go to work every day. Throw it in a bag. So that's if you make routines, it's easier. When you're trying to do it fly by, just every day trying to cook the meals and cook for each time, you can't. Right. It's just too time consuming. So you got to pre-plan your meals. Again, this, like, if you're listening to all this, you're saying, it's like, wow, who wants to deal with all that bullshit? And on top of that, it's being a bodybuilder or into that lifestyle. It's the only person that is allowed to be picked on at a dinner table. Whether, I don't care if you're sitting with lawyers or Hell's Angels, when you're jacked up, people, they can poke fun at you because remember, you're a musclehead, so you should be able to, because you got muscles, they think that you can be like made fun of, right. Oh, you gonna eat that? That's got butter on it. People would say shit like that. Like I'm supposed to, you know what I mean? Like this, more to themselves. I would always say like, it's like you're just guilty that you can't stop eating butter. You know what I mean? So don't put your fucking hang-ups on me. I have no problem eating butter when I want to eat it. I just don't eat the whole stick.
Yeah, and the black bodybuilders get it the worst because they're the only type of work the only type of field where they can get called the N-word because they bodybuild. So it's just like you said, Jimmy. It's just not fair, man. But you're right though. Didn't you say also didn't you say you were at the beach and then this Jewish couple came up to you? Remember that?
In Miami, yep. Me and Scotty were down there with fucking Craig Torres. You can look him up on the internet. Craig Torres. He was an IFBB pro, but we were down there in 1996, and this Jewish couple. There was 2 Jewish couples on the beach, Miami. What a shocker! But anyways, so we were walking by and shit. Right, we just got out of the gym, right, and this lady, they're all standing on the edge of the water, right, with their feet, and the husbands are sitting down, and all of a sudden, oh my God, come here, right. This lady with the big hat on, and we walk over to her, right? She's like feeling us up. Bitch has got her hand up my ass, like and she's calling her husband, Maury, look at these guys. She says, can you believe they're the same sex as you? Oh, we were fucking, and I remember like, oh my God. And he was laughing, big fucking, all the gold on with smoking a cigar. He could have probably bought and sold us 30 times over. You know what I mean? Because she had a rock like the choke on her hand. So they had money, but it was just funny. But it was just so funny that like, they have no problem feeling you up right up your abs, grabbing your ass, just fucking. But yeah.
Well, that's the meme, right?
Yeah, that shit was funny. But
there's the meme. I don't know if you've seen the meme where they show a guy, a woman passes by him and he's skinny, and then he hits the gym, he starts getting big, and then he goes back to the woman. And the woman ignores him, and it's just a bunch of guys surrounding him, pinching him, and going, "Whoa, how much you bench, bro?" Do you think there's a certain truth to that men also come up to you and ask a bunch of questions?
Are you kidding me, dude? That's everybody in that game goes through that. There's a time when you go from, when you're in that life, you go from okay. You could tell, he's a workout guy. Then you go like, you could, you have that almost a underwear model build. I tell everybody that's the build you want. Just a good set of wash pad abs, and you know what I mean? Because remember, the thinner you are, the less mass you have on, the smaller your joints are going to look. So with your shirt off, you're going to look, even bigger. Mm-hmm. But the point is, there is a time when you take it too far. Without a doubt, I definitely reached that. It gets to the point where without a doubt, you have less women impressed by it than you have men. Then you have bouncers, well, Jesus Christ, dude, what the fuck do you bench? That's like the big question. And they always get freaked out because I always say I don't bench. I never benched. It wasn't an exercise for bodybuilding. It's a powerlifter's exercise. I used to when I was putting on the mass, but then when I got up to the size I was comfortable at, I stopped it altogether and I did more, all dumbbell work or different machines to, more molding. You got to put the mass on. I'm a firm believer in heavy training, especially for you men in the beginnings. Less reps, instead of like throwing the fucking weight around and doing shoulders look like they're trying to fly to the moon instead of being real slow and precise with what they're doing. You know what I mean? And just do heavy weight. And I do 3 sets to each. That's another thing. People are like, wow, that's all you do. And like, yeah, 3 sets, the last one to failure. You do it till you can't do anymore. The counting thing, it bothered me right from the beginning. Like I always said, why do you get a count? Because that's to me like you're setting a stop. Like that's why I always say on your last one, like drop 21s is a thing me and Scotty love to do. Like biceps, calves, any muscle that's a quick twitch fiber, you need more of a pump to get them to really grow. So like a drop 21 is, say you start off whatever you're curling, you got whatever the weight it is, and you do it for 7, and you take guys on either side, take off a quarter of the weight, do it for 7 more, and then whatever more weight that you do. So they call them 21s or drop 7s. Those are real taxing, but yeah. So, but it is true though.
So it's technique. The technique is important, and
it's all technique,
right? And you're saying also it's it's like boxing, right? Work hard. I mean, work smart, not hard necessarily. You don't have to. Well, how much time would you spend? How much time would you spend on average, like a workout session?
Oh, I never lifted weights more than 50 minutes, 50 to an hour tops. But then I'd always go walk on the treadmill for like 30 minutes after. You know what I mean?
It's like a cool down?
So I was never, yeah, exactly. I just want to get my cardio in right there because taking a shower, going home, I'll go do cardio later. You procrastinate. It's human nature. Life happens. So it's just like to get it out of the way. I also did my shit in the morning. I was at the gym, 6 a.m. I'd get up at 5, go to the gym. And when it first opened, because I like to do it before work. I mean, if it was hard to get used to at first for people, but once they do it, they'll never do it any other way because you're so much more mentally sharp. You know it. Like just go to the gym earlier in the day. You get out, you're like fresh. I'd be sitting there, just coming through the door, their eyes were all puffy, and then sitting there freaking desk and an hour to get even into anything. They're moaning. Ugh.
Yeah, they need their
coffee.
Over there
fucking exactly, dude.
Yeah,
and I'm over there microwaving salmon.
It's true because you get that. You get those chemicals flowing. After a
Endorphins,
workout, you don't need a fucking cup of coffee.
No. I drank my coffee on the way to the gym. I would take the same thing. I would drink a iced coffee with an ephedrine tablet.
Ooh. Well, let me ask you this then, because you say between 50 minutes and an hour to an hour. Mm-hmm. What are all these guys like in that famous documentary, Pumping Iron with Schwarzenegger? Some of these guys are like, oh, I spend 6 hours at the gym. Is that exaggeration to make the other guys think that they're
those are gym rats. No, they spent that much time there. But remember, that was the beginning of bodybuilding. They were the teachers, right? Everybody learned from them, and it just as it went on and it evolved, you learned. Like I'm a Dorian Yates funky. You know what I mean? I'm a cultist of him. I believe Dorian Yates, everything he said. And I saw the transformation of my body when I went to his workout, like no other transformation ever made. Like I made crazy gains when I started following his everything. So like I was a huge Dorian Yates, and he's a smart dude, which I didn't even know until after he got out of bodybuilding, because he very seldom talked when he was a bodybuilder. But it's a very dinky sport too. Like nobody gets along with each other. Always talking. No, seriously, dude. Caddy, like you have no. Oh, dude, so
well, it
catty.
makes sense, right? Because it makes sense because you said that there's a certain amount of narcissism involved, and it's almost like women to a certain extent, right?
Yeah, and so you're behind stage. Everybody puts on their paint. Everybody's painted up. You got to paint your body paint on, so you got to have somebody with you. Of course, use a little sponge brush that you would use for varnish. You would just stick it in this paint on tin. It gets you dark. I mean, people think they're tan. I don't care how tanned you think you got from the fucking outside world. You get up under those floodlights, you're fucking pale. So yeah, everybody gets painted before they go on. So when you're only getting painted, you get guys fighting to the corner of the room or some spot, or some guys going to the bathroom, because the minute you take your sweatshirt off, everybody's looking. What's he doing, right? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on with him? So a lot of guys would bring in these portable curtain things, like the circular curtain. They would set them up so nobody could see them because they wouldn't want anybody, you know what I mean? Just, they would do that for psychological tricks. Other guys would like hide people's tanning stuff. No, it's really catty, dude. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many fist fights have happened at fucking bodybuilding shows, dude. Well, guys have punched judges and shit.
You mentioned Dorian Yates. I remember he was on that interview there with that Iranian guy. I forget his name. He's a pretty popular YouTuber. Anyway, long story short, he was talking about how he was going up against another black dude. I forget the guy's name. And he said, when I went up to him, I actually bumped into him on stage, on purpose to sort of like try and intimidate him. So you're right. It does get...
That was Ronnie Coleman. He did that to Ronnie Coleman.
Jeez Louise. I mean, that's... so it goes just to go...
And Ronnie Coleman's a good guy, too.
Yeah. And by the way, there's a guy, Z1000 in the chat, says, BDA... Second Run says, ask Jimmy about Paul Dillette. I didn't even know who this guy is. And I pulled a picture Dillette. Of him. Jimmy, is this guy?
He was so massive, Paul Dillette.
Natural.
What's natural, the dude right? With the fucking space between his teeth, right?
It's natural, right?
Is that? Oh, Paul Dillette? No. No. Yeah, I'm showing. I haven't heard that name in forever. Holy shit!
I'm sharing the screen with you, Jimmy. Here, if you click on the share screen, there you'll see. And by the way, I was on the phone the other day on a second run. Bucho was hosting, so I went on my phone for the first time, and I think I'm going to give you a crash course on how to. You gotta swipe left. Anyway, I'll tell you later. But yeah, so I'm sharing the screen here, and I'm showing a picture.
Oh yeah, no, all right, yeah, I got it right here.
But Jimmy, that dude, those
he
traps,
was one of the most vascular dudes. His what he lacked, he was over. His symmetry wasn't good. His mass was insane. It just was, he lacked symmetry.
Jimmy, those traps, I mean, I think you mentioned it once that the traps, if you're juicing, the traps are going to be the first
giveaway. Oh yeah, there's a few giveaways. The traps and the thickness of the back. Like, I have a picture I can send you. This was after my accident. I'm on a flotation device. My buddy's, I'm like, you can see his face is just my back, but I'm breaking right out of the water. But in this picture, you can kind of tell. Well, I mean, at the time I had a 30 waist and a 54 back. So I mean, that's so that's not normal. You know what I mean? Like, I would have to go to, like, nothing was off the rack. I'd have special suits made. Like, I'd have double XLs, because I'd have to have double XLs through the shoulders and arms and a small in the waist. So Jimmy, it's just not.
Let me ask you this, man. This dude, the picture that I got here where it says Colossal Monster, Paul Dillette. Mm-hmm. At that point, can this guy wipe his own ass?
No. No, a lot of guys can't. That was a few bodybuilders have talked about that. Lee Priest and Jay Cutler. Yeah, holy they can't wipe their own ass. And Jay Cutler's probably, I think he's won it probably the most, Mr. Olympia. He was they're all, like I said, it's a narcissistic sport, but he's real cocky. He was cocky from day one, though, because he was one of those kids who had a washboard ab before he ever lifted weights. He was already defined. Because I remember when he came in on his motorcycle, he was 16 years old. He came to Burlington Gym, the Burlington Goals. It's a very small community, and he's right from this area. There's been a few pros actually from this area, but he's the most successful. They all moved to Vegas after, though.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because you made an interesting a point there about how in the 1970s they were just starting. They were the frontier when it came to full-on steroid use. Obviously, there's been other type of PEDs before. What?
Yes, no, you're 100% right. The first steroid, if we can go back to that, Mr. BDA, was the Germans during World War II. Mm-hmm. They the Nazis came up with this testosterone suspension, or test suspension. It's just testosterone suspended in water. It's a water-based, water-soluble steroid. It's and it's like dirty and whatever, but it gives you a bunch of DHT, makes your hair fall out. Gives you a lot of aggression. But so it doesn't have a longer shelf life because it's a water-based, the oil-based. I'm not a big fan of water-based. I never really mess with test suspension because it's just, again, it's the oldest. But so yeah, the first bodybuilders really started fucking with it was in the 60s. There's a few of the guys. Frank Zane, they said he stayed off until the last few years of his career, but he was a symmetrical freak, not so much a bulk guy. But it was in the 70s when Arnold Schwarzenegger and all them guys started really going crazy on it. Like Schwarzenegger at his height, like when he told us I didn't even, I'm set my jaw, there was a steroid called Dianabol 5, right? It was Dianabol 5 out of India. I'm sorry, Pronabol. It was Pronabol 5. And it was out of India. It was a D-ball. And that shit made my fucking liver ache. Like I was taking 3 a day, and it was making my liver ache. And I was like, oh man, my stomach was aching. When we talked to him in Aruba, I've seen him at a few different events too. When we talked to him in Aruba, he said he was eating fucking 30 of them a day.
What?
And he was taking 30 of them a day, and he was taking what did he say? He was doing 5 cc's of test suspension, 5 cc's of fucking test cypionate. Again, Joe Weider was paying for it all, so it didn't matter. It wasn't a cost thing for him. But I'm like, and he's like, oh yeah, I flooded my system. I fucked up. I was working against myself at that point, but I didn't know. And that was back then. It was obviously better. But you got to think of it like a carburetor in a car. If you have you can build a motor up until it's a drag monster, but if you put too big of a carburetor or the engine's getting too much fuel, it floods it and it bogs out. Same thing with the body. You give your body too much steroids, that's how you end up with bitch tit. Your hair falls out. Right. There's a lot more of the side effects. Plus, it's toxic as shit to your liver. So there's always that.
That's insane, man. But that's the thing, though. I remember there was a documentary that got released. This was, believe it or not, when TLC used to do documentaries and not just a bunch of reality shows with obese people and midgets. But they had a documentary on about bodybuilding. And they were talking about with a bunch of guys from the 70s and 60s who were telling, warning people about steroids. And there was this one guy, I forget what his name was, some old dude. He was saying how he went from 200 something pounds to about 140, and he lost that shit because he got into some health issues and he had to stop doing the steroids. And again, they didn't, like you said, right? They didn't know how to stop properly. But now, though, how safe is it? Like, let's say somebody wants to get into bodybuilding. Is there a safe way to do it?
Well, no. I mean, you're going to take steroids. It's key to go have a blood work done. And if you have a good rapport with your doctor, well, they take their oath that they're not supposed to rat on you or do anything. Some doctors say no, but you just tell them, like, I'm not here to ask you for steroids. I can get my own juice. I just want the blood work. Mm-hmm. You want to make sure you have no tumors anywhere in your body, especially if you're going to take growth hormone, because steroid takes an existing muscle and just blows it up with water. Growth hormone splits tissue and grows another one, right? An identical. So if you have a tumor, it's going to make that shit grow quick too. So key to have, get under, but most doctors will do it for you. I mean, there's Massachusetts, a few states now where you can get like growth hormone once a week injections. It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He owns one of the clinics. I mean, Sylvester Stallone's rather. He owns one of the clinics in California.
Interesting. Speaking of Stallone, I remember when I saw his biography on TV one time, and because again, if you watch him when he was in Rocky 1 and Rocky 2, he's in good shape, but nothing that makes you go, wow, look at this motherfucker. By the time he's doing Rocky 3 and Rambo 2 and all that, the guy's jacked, the guy's ripped. He said that he was experimenting. He was talking to a lot of experts. He said, if it had a head, I would eat it. He says that he went to the doctor at some point, and the doctor said, look, you're dangerously below, like you need to have some fat on you. Apparently the guy had lost so much fat that it was getting dangerous. Do you know what he was doing exactly? Because they didn't really go into specifics. He just said he was eating right and exercising.
Diuretics. He was fucking with diuretics because that'll get you the leanest. But the problem is Andre Munza. Anybody can look up his name. He was an insanely ripped bodybuilder from Germany. That was his thing. He knew he didn't have the body to get the bulk as those other guys, so he wanted to beat him. And he would, like, you could see every fiber in his ass when he was on stage. So, what's that?
In his ass. That was very specific.
Yeah, but, because that's one of the hottest muscles. That's your glute muscle. That gets judged. Those guys.
What was his name? What was his name?
Andre Munza. M-U-N. Yeah, Andre Munza. He died because he went into cardiac arrest. It puts your body under a ton of stress when you have no fat. And when he died, he had no fat. So when you have no fat around your internal organs, it'll kill you. Your body starts going to hyper, like you start breathing heavy. It almost feels like it's the first stages of a heat stroke. But then it just gets worse and worse. And if you go too far, like there's been guys stand over the toilet because the diuretics they're taking, the minute they shoot it, they start pissing. They can't even control it.
Holy shit.
To get rid of the fucking fluids. And it killed him. He had a heart attack at 32 years old. And there's another guy, Momad, I believe the kid from the Middle East, he died from the same thing.
Jimmy, this guy looks like he's got no skin.
Dude, that's the word they would use to describe him. Oh, Andre's skinless.
Holy
that's the look he was going for. Yeah, he was famous for that.
He looks like a roasted chicken. How close is he, do you think, to passing out in this at this moment?
A lot of them they pass out right there. Well, that's why they tell you, if you look at bodybuilding, when they're all doing the fucking standing there with the, the parade pose, just kind of arms down by the side, they look like the threes. If you look, all the knees are bent. It's like most people, they tell you never keep your knees locked because you might go right the fuck over. Yeah. But again, the day before the show, that's when motherfuckers are really rough. Like I've had to help friends out of bed, put their socks and shoes on them. 24 hours before a show. That night though is you Scotty. My thing was I would put a ton of Plantarol fruit over rice cake, because rice cake, what other way you eat that nasty shit? But it's clean carbs, and I'll tell you, dude, if you've been just that last week before a show is you're really cut. That's when you cut your salts out, you cut everything, and then so your body reacts to it. You literally eat it, and you sit through your arms out, and you can watch your veins grow.
Holy shit!
It's not like a sponge. It's nuts. You can actually see transfer in your eyes.
Jimmy, check this
out. Your eyes. It's crazy.
Check these fucking thumbnails out this is from a YouTube video. This is a thumbnail. Andreas Munzer death cycle, and they put a picture. They put a picture of the poor guy's autopsy. I gotta tell you, it looks like Butcher did this thumbnail. But okay, now I don't want to gross anyone out. So if you're eating, make sure you look away or whatever. But I'm gonna show you, Jimmy. This is a photo of his liver, I think. Allegedly. What is that? Did he have a tumor or something? What is that?
No, just his liver swelled up from all the fucking steroids and just abusing his body.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. Yep. Now, some guys, one guy's liver was, I think, almost twice its size at the time he died. Stresses your liver as those diuretics too, man. Those diuretics are nasty. Nasty, nasty shit, man.
Well, you know what?
But a lot of people go crazy though, dude. Don't forget, people take insulin. Now think about that, bro. Think about, how many pro bodybuilders today are no longer pro bodybuilders, but they still have to take insulin every day because they made themselves diabetic by shooting insulin into their belly before they worked out.
Jeez Louise.
I tried it once. I'll admit I wanted to see what all the talk was about, and it was crazy. It was the sickest pump I've ever had in my life, but I wasn't going to fuck with it. No way. I'm like, no way, man. I don't want to become a diabetic. But a lot of dudes did it every day.
Now, the insulin, what does it do exactly? What do you have to take? Sugar.
It's a sugar. You know what I mean? Like people whose body don't produce sugar, diabetics and shit, they go on a sugar shock. But so you basically take in that, and they blast it. Same thing. You shoot it into your belly the same way, but the same way you would do with the growth hormone. You want it in subcutaneously, but not into the muscle. And the reason why they always go abs, the leaner you get, it's the only one of the last places you can find any fat to put it in, the needle.
Interesting.
That's why you always end up with those guys who take growth hormone. Like you put up any of those bodybuilders and you'll close up in their abdominals, you'll see the little lumps. They look like BBs under the skin. Yeah. That's your injection sites from growth hormone.
Not for nothing, but Errol Spence and Floyd Mayweather. You can see it there. Photos of the wins. Just saying. But listen, going back to the bodybuilding. So you were. When did you start your journey into bodybuilding? Because I know you used to box, right? When you were younger.
Yeah, box. Yeah. That's the reason why I started lifting weights when I quit boxing. Because for years I had to keep my weight at a certain weight. You know what I mean? Like I'd fight at 135. So I'm like always having to keep my weight in my younger years. That sucks. So once I said I'm done with it and I started working out, is when I didn't want to stop working out because I like being in shape. I just didn't want to get punched in the face anymore. So I got into the gym, and it was right down the street from I used to see all the guys there all the time. I never fuck with weights when I was boxing. I tell you don't need it. You can do enough calisthenics with your own body resistance. That's all you need as a boxer, or just plates on your back. That's another whole thing. But yeah, so that's how I started that. And at first I wasn't going to take steroids like everybody. But back then, dude, it was a different world, man. It was like one gym in the late 80s in the whole area. And everybody in there was on that shit, even the girls. Like, everybody was big, dude. It was crazy. There was a kid who ended up becoming a Tingsboro police officer, and ended up getting fired because he discharged his firearm up in Nashua, having an argument with his girlfriend. But he was a pro bodybuilder. He was a mulatto kid his father was the principal at the high school we went to. And Paul Smith, people can look him up. One of the biggest bodybuilders back then in the world too, and he was strong. Like one of my first weeks, he was like, wasn't anybody in the gym. We were down in, it was Universe Gym. And it was down in like this basement area. It was condensation and sticky and stunk. Asbestos hanging from the ceiling and shit. Like it was a dungeon, right?
You're talking about my apartment.
Yeah. So he's on a seated behind the neck benches. Like it's a chair and it's got the things you take the bar out and you do behind the neck presses, right, with the bar. So I'm watching him. He's over there just doing warm-ups with dumbbells, and he goes over to his first set. Mind you, his first set. I'm watching him loading up the punching bar, and I'm the only one in the gym now. And Danny's, who owns the place, is behind the counter. He's on the phone or whatever, but he's not on the gym floor. And sure enough, hey, dude, you want to throw me a spot? And I'm looking at this shit. I'm like, dude, and I wasn't going to lie to him because it could get hurt. I'm like, dude, you're asking me if I can clean and jerk from a standstill. Like, imagine grabbing, because he had 315 pounds on there. So he's doing behind the neck presses. And he goes, no, I got it. Just kick me at the end if I need it. He goes, don't even have to touch it. I said, no, I know how to spot. You just keep your fingers resting against the bar. Don't put any pressure until you feel the bar going backwards, and then you stop it with your fingers, and you just use as less as possible to push the bar up. That's how you truly spot somebody. So I knew how to spot, but I was like, if something goes ugly, dude, I'm not going to be able to fucking pull this off your neck. Because that'd be like doing upright rows. What an upright row is, right? You pull like the bar with your fingers about a fist width apart and bring it up to your chin. That's for your traps and outer delts. He was doing so, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't upright row 315 pounds. I just joined the gym. You know what I mean? So, but it was funny to watch him do it. It blew my mind. Some of the weights these guys moved around back then was shocking.
So you obviously had the discipline from the boxing, and I think you also used to play hockey. Well, I think you still play hockey, you said. But so you were into sports. It's not like you went in there cold turkey and you'd never actually played a sport, physical sport. So at what point, like how long into it did you start dabbling with the, really getting into it, bitten by the bodybuilding bug? And when did you start dabbling with the steroids?
Oh, I got bitten pretty good, but that's my personality. Whatever I get into, I get obsessed by it if I like it. And my first thing, to be honest with you, was we met some girls one night, and we went to this fucking public pool, but it was it's no longer there, but it's kind of out in the woods, and it was weird. Lowell Drake and Lyon, and we went there, hopped the fence out after the club got out at 2:00 in the morning, and these two chicks I go, oh my god, look at you, like they just made a kind of a thing about it, like they could tell I was working out, and being a little narcissistic freak, where I'm like, ooh. So if I get that, what happens if I get bigger? And then you get bigger and bigger, then that's when the dysphoria comes in, dysphoria or phobia comes in, where you look in the mirror, you're never big enough. Right. You always see flaws, and it becomes a problem. But you get to that point where girls don't even like it anymore. Now majority of the women would say, ooh, geez, it looks like that hurts. Or like they would say, I liked you better when you weren't as big. But the thing is, by that point, you're only interested in the girls who like it, which are the gym chicks. And surprisingly, strippers. Huh. Strippers love body. It's just crazy. I don't know why. They just, oh yeah.
Maybe we need to
fucking gym rat chicks.
Yeah, we need to commandeer a study on that. The why are strippers into bodybuilders? But it's interesting though, because
they're also into bikers too. So that's right. Weird, right? But yeah.
Well, I don't know your opinion about this, but there's a trend now because of Instagram. A lot of these chicks now, they like to get ripped. What's your opinion on ripped chicks?
I like it as long as they don't take it to the point of like Bev Francis. She was a chick that just went too fucking crazy. She was was she English? Was it, yeah, Bev Francis. She was the first woman to really like when she's bench pressing 315 for sets and shit. So
Okay,
yeah, there was a few chicks like that.
I hate to be mean, man, but I'm showing a picture of her. I'm gonna show a picture of. She looks like Carrot Top. I mean, when a woman. That's what I'm saying. When a woman gets too,
Yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want a woman
big,
with a
go
six
on.
pack, Jimmy. I don't want a woman with a six pack. That's my opinion.
Well, not just that, dude. I mean, do you want to fuck a chick from behind and you're grabbing her lats? Dude, you're grabbing her lats. Nah, dude, that's just not for me. I like the bikini. I like the fitness models.
Sure,
like if
yeah,
you punch up for this, like Monica Brandt. Look up Monica Brandt. Back then, she was my favorite, Monica Brandt. But she got into bodybuilding later, but she never got that big. But when she was just they used to have fitness model, and fitness show tied in with then it was the women bodybuilding. But before Monica Brandt went bodybuilding, that was the look I liked. The gym rat chick, but not. I like if she bounced on her heels, the ass didn't jiggle. Like I like the firm booty, but I didn't want her looking like a man. Yeah, see, like that. That was as big as I liked. I didn't want. That still looks feminine to me. What do you think?
Yeah, like I mean, it's obviously she's probably got she has the pump so if without the pump I wouldn't mind that. But Jimmy, it's the Instagram thing. A lot of these chicks, they see a woman on Instagram with a shitload of followers because they're ripped, so they think, women for the most part they just follow the herd. So they just go, yeah, let me go get ripped too. And let me tell you something, Jimmy. BDA, he doesn't go for that type of stuff. Sorry, girls, you're losing out. That's all I'm saying. You're losing out. By the way, the phone lines are open. So if you want to call in and ask Jimmy a question or comment on this subject, bodybuilding, PEDs, the whole shebang.
You know what?
Yeah.
Another weird thing about girls bodybuilding, well, any girl gets too ripped, she doesn't have to be a bodybuilder. She just get ripped. Usually, if a girl, you can see her abs, she's not getting her period anymore, which is a strange thing. Yeah, they stop getting their period. Just want to throw that out there.
That's bizarre, man. That is bizarre. I mean, this world, it's like you said, it attracts some interesting people. Now, that's the other thing there. How did you, once you started lifting and you're like, all right, now you're getting to your routine, were you ever hesitant about taking steroids, or what was the mentality around them back then?
No hesitation at all. I didn't want to take growth hormone because I was afraid of it back then because I didn't know anything about it. And I heard they took it out of the cadaver of dead people and it was crazy expensive too. But I didn't never really bother me. I was always iffy in the beginning about the syringe. I didn't like stab myself. And then like reusing syringes. Some guys use their same syringe over and over. Like they're cheap. And you can go online, actually YouTube. I saw it just yesterday. It's crazy. It's one of those short videos. They take a syringe just to show you how much damage a syringe takes going through just human skin. You wouldn't think it, but they put it under one of those crazy microscopes where it really blows it up, and it shows the point before and after going into an orange. It literally is folded back after it goes through the orange under the microscope. So that's why you always get that hook. People would pull it out, and I'm like, dude, this is the same fucking. It's the same nail you've been using for fucking a month, bro. Because a lot of, like, some friends, like my buddy Scotty, hated it. Even for years, he hated shooting up himself. He'd always, all right, dude, he just never got used to the syringe. All right, dude, you ready? You ready? I'm like, yeah, Scott, I'm ready. So, because you got to put all your weight off your foot. So, all right, I'm right there, dude. But after a while, right? So 2 things happen. You get scar tissue. You always hit the same area, so it goes through the scar tissue. But coming out, there'd be a hook. You could feel it coming out. So that's one thing. Anybody does them, make sure you have, plenty of syringes. Don't reuse them because that's how you end up tearing shit up, getting hematomas, and you could use a dirty syringe and end up having to get surgery. So yeah, don't do it.
Well, that dude, remember that Sicilian guy or Sicilian American, whatever you want to call it, with the big arms because he was injecting synthol in there or something. And you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, Paul Mascherano. What the fuck was his name?
That was the guy.
I know he had huge Moderato. He was from New York, I think.
Let me look it up. I still have the VHS from when I recorded it when they first showed the documentary on TV. What did you say his name was? Paul.
Moderato, was it Moderato or John Moderato? Well, yeah, it was around the same time as Paul Dillett. I know that. Paul Delay.
Yeah, and there's still people that are doing that they think it looks good. When they inject the synthol and all that, it's like, man, that doesn't fucking look.
Oh, that stuff's gross. No, it doesn't look natural at all.
But it's like you said, it's mental. Like you said, it's that they've got mental illnesses, like the dysmorphia. They think they look good.
It's the same. It's kind of the same thing when chicks start getting all that plastic surgery, right? They turn their face into they look like fucking lions.
Right.
You know what I mean? They just look gross. It's like, why would you do that? I mean, just look at the actress. What's her name? The little pucker face from Me, Myself, and Irene.
That yeah. Renee Zellweger.
Renee Zellweger. Oh my God, have you seen her lately? What she did to her face? What is wrong with her?
You know who? Well, I mean, this is a subject for another show. But Megan Fox, she was exploding for a while back in 2006. I mean, she made me explode a couple of times. Let me tell you. But she was really, in the movies, she was being cast as a lead in movies. Then she sort of fell off the radar, and she claimed that it's because she didn't want to play the Hollywood game. Well, now lo and behold, she comes back. She's dating a rapper, some white guy. And I'm not saying white guy is disparaging, but I mean in the sense that it's a white rapper. That to me is a little bizarre. And she's drinking his blood, she said. So I don't know. It just seems like she did something weird to come back to fame. But to your point, plastic surgery. Megan Fox, she looks fucking weird now too. Like you said, I don't know what it is about
did
that
she really do that?
Yeah.
She did that too, because she was a beautiful girl. Like, how am I getting onto women? BDA, okay. Here we go. How do I post a picture? Because I got a picture of that guy, Mike.
Okay, you see here, I don't know if you get these matches where I'm saying hello.
Yep.
Oh, you see it?
Well,
okay, Jay, just...
It says BDA and your icon's blinking. I'm on my phone. It says on air, the stream thing.
Okay, here's what you do. Swipe from left to right.
Okay, left to right. Nope, nothing. It only lets me go the other. Oh, it's not letting me do anything.
Go from the edge of the left beyond this page and just swipe right. Because that's the way I did it. The other day I was in here and I could only see the icons, like you said, like when it lights up and everything. And then I said, and then I switched, swiped, and I saw the messages there. Let me see if I can do it now. Hold on. I'm gonna go on my phone. Hopefully my webcam's not on. Hold on a second. All right, see, there you go. I'm here. Okay, no, sorry, my mistake, Jimmy. You don't swipe. If you see on the upper left-hand corner, do you see two arrows pointing at each other? On upper left-hand corner. Up in the upper left-hand corner, yeah. All right, so you click on that. Now you see a conversation. You see that the last two messages say hello, hello? Do you see it? Okay, but okay, so you click the two arrows, right? And you don't see a conversation that my last message says hello, hello? All right, forget about it. We're gonna lose people here. All right. Well, listen. Just send it on the Second Renaissance Discord if you can find it. Jimmy, can you hear me? Ah, shit. Sorry about that. Hold on a second. All right. Sorry about that, fellas. Yeah. So, all right, Jimmy, we'll just post it on the Second Renaissance Discord. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'll post it on the Second Renaissance.
All right.
Is there any call? Anybody calling in?
So far not, man. Hey, guys, if you want to call in and give us your comments on bodybuilding, or you want to ask Jimmy a question, now's the time to do it. You don't want to waste the opportunity. We don't want to be doing a boxing show and talking about fucking Benavides or whatever. And you're like, hey, Jimmy, how much testosterone should I take? Shut up. Now's the time. Hold on a second. Let me just reconnect the OBS here so you can see. Oh, okay. Well, what are people saying in the chat room? I'm crap with technology, says Reverend Pickles. I'm on YouTube. Can't hear Jimmy's. Okay, no, now you can hear him. Somebody, Rex says, I'm in love with Mary Jane. She's my main thing. What the fuck are they talking about?
That's a song. That's from that song from the 90s.
Ah, okay. What was the guy? Yeah, Greg Valentino, Jimmy. That was the guy's name.
Yeah, I was talking about Mike Matarazzo. That's the pitch that's what I thought you were talking about.
Yeah, no,
And he was a freak. He had huge arms. But yeah, that other dude, yeah, Stanizol, that's gross. You get bounced out of a competition from that, you automatically lose. Most bodybuilders don't mess with that. That's usually just boneheads who fucking, you know what I mean, don't want to put in the effort.
Yeah, man, because that doesn't fucking look good. Hold on a second.
That's gross. It's basically it's causing an injury to your muscle. You're shooting that oil. It's like taking a hammer to your muscle and it just swells up. But dude, so many guys have to have surgery, have that shit taken out of their muscle. It hardens and becomes all lumpy when they get older. I mean, that's the thing. It's like they don't even think like you think that's going to look like that forever. Where do you think that shit's going to go? It's going to end up falling down into your arm and just it's supposed to eventually just all dissipate, but.
Well, this guy was dealing
imagine
too.
Being that pathetic.
This guy was dealing too. On top of that, he was dealing steroids.
Oh yeah.
He says he almost got robbed. He says somebody robbed his stash. So the guy that was supplying it to him took him and his partner to a parking lot, made them get on their knees, point a gun to their heads, and say, he said, "Convince me why I shouldn't kill you tonight." And then afterwards, 2 weeks later, like he spared them, and then 2 weeks later, the guy ends up getting the guy that threatened them and goes to jail for a triple homicide. Those are the types of people that he was dealing with. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
You know what though? In the steroid world, you know what was weird too, especially back then. The deal is always dealt in Nubain. It was an injectable painkiller. Like every bodybuilder was doing it. That's why so many bodybuilders end up as heroin addicts later in life. You find out like, holy shit, he end up becoming a junkie. They get addicted on the painkillers because Nubain. A lot of dealers were just giving you that shit. 50cc jugs if you bought a lot. Yeah, check out this Nubain because they want to get you hooked on it. But a lot of them get into Percocets because your joints are always sore. So there's a lot of that. Even Jay Cutler, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, ended up having an issue on Percocets. A lot of them do. I think Lee Priest. Yeah, but Lee Priest was the biggest guy size-wise because he was just barely over 5'4", and he stepped on a scale right in front of me, and I saw it was 328 pounds.
How much?
Fucking 328.
Holy shit! 5 feet 4 inches tall, 300 pounds.
Yep, 328 pounds. Yeah.
What was the guy's name?
Lee Priest.
Lee Priest.
So, yeah, he ended up getting a tattoo on his face, man. Like an insane dude.
5 feet 4 inches tall, 300 pounds at his peak. I want to see a picture that illustrates how big this guy was. Well, maybe this.
I mean, he wasn't shredded by no means. Then I mean, literally, he ate, I think, 2 dozen donuts that day because he was just eating donuts just to try to get the calories in. He was pounding donuts and selling fucking pitches at $10 a piece. Get your picture taken with him, or he would sign a fucking photo. But yeah, Lee Priest. If you put in Lee Priest at his biggest bodybuilder, he was an Australian. But
the guy that I remember, Rich Piana. I don't know if you remember that dude. He had a YouTube channel. That's how he became famous, I think. And it was just him. I think he's correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's one of the guys that started the whole using YouTube to document his days. And I don't know, for some reason it was fascinating. Just watching this guy get up in the morning, do his workout. He would show you the steroids that people would send him. I think a company would send them to him or something like that. They'd send him free meals so he didn't have to cook. This guy was fucking huge. And then at some point, Jimmy, he goes, all right, I'm going to document my goal of getting as close to 300 pounds as I can and still being shredded. And he ended up dying, that dude. Why did he die? I think his girlfriend was cutting his hair and he just fainted. And I think he banged his head against something. And I think that's one of the, hold on, let me see here.
I'm in the second Renaissance thing. I'm going to post those pictures. Here's Lee Priest. Wait till you see this fucking freak.
Yeah, Rich Piana, he was standing at the time and hit his head when he collapsed. She also said that the last few days before his collapse, he had exhibited unusual symptoms, including shortness of breath, nausea. These might have been the warning signs of an impending cardiac arrest. Well, the heart, like you said, right? The heart, maybe you can go, build the muscle on that, but the heart, if you're pushing it too hard.
Yep. That's what it's too much strain. I mean, did you see the pictures of Priest?
Yeah, hold on. Let me go to a phone call here before we get to that, because I don't want that person. Don't forget, guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, definitely.
You can call in. Numbers right there in the middle left-hand portion of your screen. 347. You're on the air. 347. What's on your mind?
Yo, what's up, BDA? So, what's up, Jimmy, too? So,
what's going on, bro?
I have a question. Now, you told me, I didn't even know that PEDs were illegal in the United States. At first, I didn't know that. But you said only if it's prescribed by a doctor. Now, I'm not looking to, get prescriptions for PEDs, but I'm saying, is it, hard to do that?
It's hard to find the right doctor. Yeah, a lot of doctors just aren't going to do it. But, there are some doctors who will do it. But you don't really even need to. The thing is, right, steroids, it's not like it used to be. Like I said, when the mob was really big into it, they were trying to make examples of people, and they were taking down a lot of bodybuilders back in the day. But it's not unless you actually get caught, you get pulled over, and you have them right on your fucking front seat with the syringes. Nobody's going to be investigating you. You know what I mean? It's not high on the Department of Justice's things. You know what I'm saying? But it's very difficult to get a doctor just to write you for steroids.
So basically, it's kind of like say like fireworks. Fireworks where I am is illegal, but the cops really don't enforce it like that.
Exactly. No, especially a lot of cops take steroids. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you seen some of these fuckers? Ah, shit.
The thing is, you have to go in there and say, I can't fucking, if you want to play the game and say you're having a hard time getting erections, all this other shit, they can put you on stuff, but they're not going to put you on the stuff that the amount of stuff you would be looking for to get big. If you're going to do bodybuilding, very seldom you're going to get a doctor who's going to write you that kind of script.
Interesting.
Not a reputable one anyways.
We got disconnected there with MMA champ. Let me just try to reconnect here. But yeah, man, he said he equated it to fireworks, Jimmy. He said it's almost like they're illegal, but they're not gonna. Yeah,
they'll turn a blind eye. Nobody's looking for it. Like I said, a lot of cops. I mean, the cops and local cops used to be on juice. They used to come in. In fact, John. I don't want to say his name. That'd be stupid. But let me just say, I've known this kid. I knew him before he became a police officer. He was always on juice, and he was a narcotics officer. When he got on. He was a school teacher first, a substitute school teacher. Then he became a cop, but he was a juice head. He's now on the Boston PD. He left Lowell, but
yeah, that's what you want, man. Guys walking around with a gun and a short temper because of the steroids. That's fantastic. Don't these guys get tested or something, Jimmy?
No, not for steroids. No.
I'm gonna look into it.
In fact, it's actually they don't even get tested for drugs. The unions fight hard for that.
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
The only time you get tested for drugs if you fucking discharge a weapon.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Anyway, I wanted to say that. Oh, hold on a second. We got somebody else calling in here, and then we'll get to the lead priest there. I haven't forgotten. Hold on a second. 617. You're on the air. 617. What's on your mind?
Austin.
Yeah, what's going on? It's Mike.
What's up, Mike? What's on your mind, man?
No, I was in the steroid game too back in the day, so I can relate to a lot of what Jimmy's talking about. This was when I was, when I was in college. So when I was like 20, 21, my early 20s, I did a couple of cycles. I don't know how long you did it for, Jimmy. I didn't hear that part of the show, but for me, it was like a good 3 years. I'd say that I did.
Yeah, well, that's on. Is he still there, BDA?
Yeah, he's still there, but I think he cut off.
Oh, I know. Well, he cut out. Yeah. A cycle, like that's what people always say. How long is a cycle? It's like you described. A cycle is is the cycle of how long you were on. Some guys never come off. Like they just don't. Pro bodybuilders, they say, well, no, I cycled off, I'm off. When they say they're off, that means they're only taking Deca and a handful of D-ball a week. You know what I mean? Or whatever. Like they're never off. Pro bodybuilders, But yeah, if you cycle off, it's important to do like Clomid to kick your nuts back on. Again, it's hard for some guys because most kids jump the gun. They get anxious. I would always tell them, because you can't, it's not like you can go to a store and get everything you need, especially as the years went by. In the 90s, you'd get a list, like a dealer would give you a fucking list of the things you could choose from. You know what I mean? Then it got to the point where then it's okay, you get a list, but now you have to make sure it's not counterfeit. And like that's another thing I can tell anybody I know who's listening, if anybody's trying to do it. Two major things with counterfeits. Take your hand, and if you can squeeze that top of that cover that you put the needle through, you know what I mean? If that cover swivels very easily, that's a red flag, because machines punch them things in hard. Another thing, they're labels. If the labels are put on by hand, they won't perfectly line up. They're laser lined up when they're from a factory, but when they're put on by hand, you can see it. But that doesn't mean just because it's counterfeit doesn't mean it isn't real steroids. It could be just half the fucking what they say it is, because it's been peanut oiled down. Because that's what Dana White, who owns the UFC, that was his game. He'd buy like a 50cc jug of enanthate and turn it into a 150cc jug like it was cocaine. He would throw peanut oil or something in there, or you know what I mean. But when you transfer that and you're doing it yourself, there's all kinds of microscopic shit in the air that's getting into that, and you run the risk of getting fucking real sick from it. And he did get people sick. That's why he ran out of Boston.
Interesting. Mike, you're from Boston. You ever heard that story?
No, I didn't hear about that. I used to get my stuff from a gym out in Dedham. You're familiar with Dedham, right, Jimmy?
Oh yeah, Gold's Gym in Dedham. That was owned by Frank and Joe and Fran.
Yeah, good people.
Was that back in the night? Yeah, well, Joe and Fran, they were fucking Italian dudes. They owned Gold's Dedham. That was their first Gold's. Were they the owners when you went there?
Well, I mainly was at there was a gym. It was World Gym in Dedham was the main place that I went. That's where I met the people that I got my shit from. So I mainly knew the people there. I didn't know the people at Gold's that much. I only went in there.
Okay, yeah. So you went to World Fitness there?
Every once in a while, yeah.
Yeah, World Fitness. They turned into that. Well, didn't they? That turned into that fucking.
All right.
That's why I'm having a hard time.
There's a delay. Let Mike. Mike, go ahead, please.
Oh no, I just was saying. Because this was I'd say 2003, 2004. This was around the time, and I'd usually do it in the summertime. When I would be at college, I'd come home for summer break, and I would do a cycle over the summer. So I'd do about 12 weeks on, and then. When I'd go back to school, I'd be just at the very end of my cycle. So that's when I do my, post cycle. I do, either, Novadex or Clomid or whatever. But it usually would, last me. I keep a good 50% of my gains as long as I get a good, post cycle, and continue to work out. Like, I come into school every year just all jacked up. You know what I mean?
So you got your hands on Novalex and Clomid? That's smart.
Yeah.
That one turns your nuts back on, and one, that's very important to take.
There's stuff called, I want to say it was called HCG or something like that. That's what really, really worked when you were on cycle to get your nuts, so they don't shrink like that. That's what we used back then, at least. It was called HCG or something like that. HCG, I think it was called.
All right, HGH. That's the human growth hormone. Is that what you're talking about?
No. This is something that was just for. It just was to counteract the estrogen and because your normal testosterone production goes down when you're on juice because your body doesn't think that it needs to make it because you're getting all this artificial whatever it is that you're taking. So. If you take this HCG, it kind of stimulates your nuts again to start producing testosterone. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, I was having a hard time. So yeah, you're talking about HCG. Yeah, what was it called? It was like it had gonads or something in the name, right? Gonotropin, gono. Yeah, it was like human,
exactly.
human chronic. Yeah, I remember in the last word it has gonads. Yeah, it's to turn your nuts back on. It's like Clomid, the same thing. But that's real good stuff though. But yeah, that's important. If you don't, you go through that lull.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Mike from Boston. I just looked it up here on Google. Says HCG steroids are commonly used during and after serious cycles to maintain and restore testicular size as well as normal testosterone production. Very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, think about it, Mr.BDA. If you took steroids, right, and then you just stopped and you didn't take that, and you were taking testosterone, every individual is different. You could go 2 months without producing any testosterone, and as a male, you know what that does to you? It makes you just like it takes so much out of you.
I actually don't know.
Sex drive and everything.
Yeah, well, I actually don't know because my testosterone is so high. But I understand what you're saying. Like for normal people, it would be a big problem.
Yeah, 2 months, you're dying, your hair pink, you're fucking voting liberal, you're going.
Hey, you know what, man? There might be something to that. That the people, all those estrogen pills in the water. Alex Jones. People laughed at him when he said the frogs were being turned gay, and then it turned out he was right. So I don't know. Hey, there's a conspiracy theory out there that they want to feminize men by putting a bunch of chemicals in the food and in the water. So you never know. We might do a show on that. Jimmy, I gotta go.
Soy.
Oh, the soy, yeah, of course. I gotta dip out for 2 minutes. Are you comfortable taking over here?
Oh yeah, sure, no problem.
All right. Let's say, okay, I'll leave you with a question here. If you had to speculate, and again, this is speculation. So, by the way, I got Ray Shapiro backing you up, so don't worry about it. But just be careful. What do you think Joshua is doing in terms of PEDs, if he should be taking them? I'll be right back.
All right. Well, if Joshua was taking them, he's not taking bulk steroids. He wouldn't be taking like obviously the best steroid for a for a boxer, the same thing as wrestler. Guys, you want the strength and the aggression, but you don't want the bulk. So that'd be halotestin. Now, that shit's just as toxic as it comes to the human liver. Very toxic, but that's an excellent steroid for a boxer. But if they were bulking up, like Decadoraballin, Pronabol 5, that's an oral, but it's good for a boxer. No, not Pronabol 5. That's like the D-ball. Parabolin. That's the same line as Deca. That would be something at very minimal bulk, but you get the recovery. Because again, that's what a boxer is trying to get out of it, is recovery. It's not, everybody thinks, well, they're just trying to get punched so much harder. That's not the case at all, especially if they're starting to put on muscle. It could slow them down. I'm wondering, and I'm just wondering out loud, you know what I mean? I'm making any accusations, but I don't know if Canelo, knowing he was going to fight at 175, if he decided to fucking go back to Germany and maybe train real hard with weights, because I'll tell you right now, that could have slowed him down because he looked sluggish in that fight. So that was one of the things going through my mind at the time. Mike, are you still there? Nope. Okay. But but boxers in general, I mean, obviously for a boxer, and if they can afford it, it'd be growth hormone. Again, that's the end all be all of what it would take now. And another reason why it's harder to detect, because if you take testosterone, there's two kinds of steroids. There's androgenic and anabolic. Androgenic, your body produces that. That's just testosterone. It comes up in a test as male testosterone. They can say, well, why are you producing 3 times the normal average? But they can't prove it with some steroids. Some guys have high testosterone. But anabolics come up as steroids, as anabolic. Your body, that's a foreign thing. So that's how you pop dirty on those tests. For instance, didn't Ortiz get caught? No, who got caught with doing parabolin? I mean, Deca. Oh, the kid from New York City, the heavyweight. Jamal Miller. Miller was his name.
Oh, Big Baby Miller, yeah.
Yeah, Big Baby Miller.
Oh, yeah, he was on everything, right? He was on 3 stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one thing to say, well, I didn't know, my trainer gave it to me, I just drank it, I didn't know. How does somebody shoot you up with a syringe in the ass and say, well, I didn't know it was steroids? You kind of lose the argument right there.
Didn't Shane Mosley think that, or I think he claimed, well, he was injecting me with vitamins or something. I think that's what he said.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be every other day. And it wouldn't be in the ass, and it wouldn't be oil-based. either. So yeah, you'd have to be kind of a dope if you actually believe that.
Hey, I wouldn't know, man. I like if a guy injects me with something that looks, thick, I wouldn't know if it's an actual steroid or not.
Well, yeah, you would. Well, you would depends on what steroid they gave you. If they gave you one very aggressive, you might suddenly notice, why do I want to pull that dude out of his car and beat his brains into taking my parking spot? You know what I mean?
Well, remember that video I posted? Remember War Machine?
Yeah. Oh yeah, the guy who beat his fucking woman.
Yeah, the Christy Mack. I don't know if you remember. I played the videos of him. He was raging on camera because there was one where he's like, I went into a store and he's got a hoodie on. I went into a store and I just wanted that's how he talks, by the way. I'm doing a perfect impression here. I went into a store and they didn't. The cashier told me I had to remove my hoodie. I just wanted a fucking Slurpee. And the guy is gritting his teeth while he's talking. And indeed, if you look at his pictures now, he looks very thin. And you would think, well, he's in prison. All he's got is working out. No, it's because he was juicing before. That's how he lost all his gains. Well, most of his gains, yeah.
And especially like when you dipped out, I was explaining what fighters would take, because you don't want to especially if you're dealing in weight classes, you don't want to bulk up. That's the last thing you want to do. But if you want the aggression, like for wrestlers, dude, it's the steroid all wrestlers wanted was halotestin. Especially MMA guys, they ate that shit up. Like if anybody got their hands on halotestin, I wouldn't take it. That shit was so toxic, but it was so easy to get rid of because so many athletes wanted that because the aggression was off the hook. So if he was freaking like that, then he was probably on halotestin because it becomes almost in control of like. I took a cycle once. It was called the Home Wrecker. It was, the strongest oral steroid is called Anadrol 50 from South America. It was Syntex Corporation. It used to be in the United States. Then they went to South America, but then they stopped making it all together. And so whatever was left, you could find, like the original Lemon 7 914 Quaaludes. People would pay whatever for it. But yeah, I was one of the last people to get batches. I had thousands of those things. Anadrol 50. So you take one tablet a day. You start like a Hapatab. Yeah, that's the thing that like I almost blew my elbows. I got so strong so fast on that cycle. It's Tessiponate, Anadrol 50, and Decadurabolin. The Deca doesn't really affect, but that Siponate mixed with that Anadrol 50, like I woke up in the middle of the night and I just wanted to fucking strangle my girlfriend.
But now that's the thing, though. Listen, we all have a certain amount of aggression as human beings, and especially as men. But when it comes to strangling somebody, I mean, that's because doesn't that have as much to do with you as with the steroid as well? In other words, isn't it just canalizing what you already have inside of you a little bit?
Yeah, but no, because this was it, dude. It was over a dream. I woke up and I had to talk myself out from strangling her. Like she was laying there. I'm like, fucking bitch. And I realized I caught myself. I'm like, holy shit, dude, stop. It's a dream. I went in the bathroom. Like I was like, the fucking cunt. I was getting so, and then I realized I couldn't stop the rage. It just kept coming and coming.
Holy shit. Well, you know what, Jimmy? You know what I would have done after I would have, if I would have been in your shoes, almost killing my wife, and I let go of her, and she's gasping for breath. I would have just laid down on the bed and go. Now I know why they call it the home wrecker. Why not, man? Hey, listen, Jimmy, you gotta look at the bright side of life.
I know.
But by the way, somebody in the chat mentioned SARMs, and it's I googled it. And it says selective androgen receptor modulators are a class of therapeutic compounds that have similar anabolic properties to anabolic steroids, but we reduce androgenic properties. I don't even know what any of that means. But somebody in the chat said that they suspect that this is what AJ is taking. Are you familiar with this? And
I'm not familiar with that. I don't know when that sound. Everything you just read, I understood exactly what you read, what it meant, but I'm not familiar with that particular drug. No, but yeah, basically what it does is it gives you the effects of the steroids from if I got my understanding right, because when you were gone, I explained testosterone come in two kinds: androgenic, which your body produces, and anabolic. Anabolic steroids, Decadurabolin, Parabolin, Winstrol V, majority of them. It's just to test Tessiponate, test enanthate, test propionate. And then there's like Sustanon 250. Those are all oil-based injectable steroids that are pure androgenic. Some have both properties. Like, okay, pure androgenic would be Anadrol 50. That was pure androgenic. That was the strongest. That and that Pronabol 5, the 5 milligram D-ball from India. That was the 2 times I was the most strongest. But like, for instance, like, you know what nose breakers are, right? The easy curl bar. You lay on your back and you put, you bring your elbows up facing the ceiling. Or I used to bring them back where they were facing like away from me. So they'd be like facing almost 45-degree angle. And then you take it, you just, like you push it straight up towards the ceiling, the bar, bring it back down behind your head. It's to build your triceps. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, most people, you'll see them have the easy curl bar with itself weighs 25 pounds, and they'll have a 25 and 25 on either side. That's 75 pounds. That's respectable weight to do easy curls. Like when I was on that shit, dude, I was doing 245 plates on either side. Like you don't see anybody do 45 plates, even like 200-pound guys. And I'm in there, but I blew up my elbow. I'm still affected by it today.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to have to fucking ice my. Like if I knew if I was doing triceps, we always had a bag of ice in the car because we'd have to wrap them up around our elbows.
Jeez,
like Scott wrapped his knees; he had bad knees, but we should train real heavy. Like I've nothing to. I've thrown up more than once squatting.
Well, you should. I wanted to ask you about squatting, but before we get to that, it says here about SARMs that they're for investigational purposes only. So not even a doctor can prescribe them to you. And it says here that the following are examples of SARMs that are frequently and illegally marketed in dietary supplements or as research chemicals, and they mention ostarine, which I've heard before. So apparently that falls as a SARM.
Oh, no kidding, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's all probably because again, they're constantly making stuff. It's all synthetic, so they just keep on making. Like the stuff today probably isn't. I wouldn't even recognize from the stuff back in the day.
Yeah, and that's why. Listen, I gotta go back to that, Jimmy. When there was an interview with Memo Heredia, or the boxing. Well, he trains more than boxers now, I think, too. And he was the one that ratted on Conti so that they wouldn't give him, or so they would give him a lighter sentence. And Heredia said in an interview, he said, "Look, part of the thrill of it was getting away with it, knowing that we were flying under the radar, and that these people, that the authorities, they had to keep up with us." So the action is the juice as much as the money and the results that they get.
Yeah, game in the system.
Right. Well, you know what, Joe?
In bodybuilding, they don't test. That's another thing, too. Obviously, there's no testing in professional bodybuilding or even regular bodybuilding.
Can you believe that? That's amazing to me. By the way, Soothsayer is the one that called it the other day. There's something called duper's delight. And that's what it is. When you get away with something, and you know you're not going to be caught, obviously. That's what they call it, duper's delight. Somebody that dupes you. And gets yeah. Sounds like a German thing to me. But anyway, yeah, you mentioned the weightlifting. You mentioned the bench press. No, sorry, the squatting and all that. Why is it specifically squats for you that made you want to throw up?
Well, they actually made me throw up twice. I puked twice. Once when I was eating oranges between sets, we were doing drop sets, doing that 21. Craig on one side, Scott on the other. Like after warm-ups, you go like your first warm-up. Then so I was doing start at 405 on the Smith machine squatting. Do 7. They take off a plate, so now you do 315. Take off a plate 225. But so I was just using those numbers, you get it, but it was more like 555, then down to 550, 500, then a 450. So in the last set, I just spewed puke like 3 feet onto the mirror.
Oh.
Because squats work more muscle groups than any other exercise. The second is deadlift. The third is bench pressing. As far as in how many different groups of muscles you're working in your body, that's why those are your 3 powerlifting exercises: squats, deadlifts, and bench press.
Locutus in the chat says, Don Ramon Champ, throwing up is rookie shit. Massive dump while squatting, now you're a real lifer. Is that true there, Jimmy?
These people have done it. Yeah, no, dude, there was a guy on the fucking leg press machine. Was it the leg press machine? Oh, no, that's the dude who broke his leg. No, there was a dude who blew his asshole out squatting. Blew his asshole right out of his asshole. Yep. Had to have it surgically put back in, bro. They had taken out by an ambulance.
Oh, do you think that hurts or?
I would imagine, man. I've seen all kinds. I've seen torn pec muscles, ripped, torn bicep. The bicep one's crazy because you get a bruise from your elbow up to your face, all the way down past your chest.
Jeez, Louise.
It's nuts. Yeah. And it goes up like a shade. It's gross. Like, because it's attached to two ends. So you snap the one at the bottom and it folds right up like a shade.
Well, there you go. Those are some horror stories there, but if, you know, take it easy out there, guys. It's not an actual competition in the gym. I mean, if you look at it that way, you get a torn asshole. You know, Jimmy, like, yeah.
What's that, brother?
No, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say because you were checking out for 1 second.
Well, I was gonna ask you about in terms of the squatting and that. How should you feel? Because squatting to me, that was one of the things that I love to deadlift because I would only would touch weights twice a week, and it wasn't even heavy weights. But the deadlifting, I was actually going pretty heavy with the deadlifting. But the squat at the boxing gym, they didn't have a proper squat rack, so I didn't know. Like I put it to you this way: the next day, if I did it properly, I wouldn't be able to walk without it hurting, and I wouldn't be able to sit in the toilet to take a dump without, you know. But some people, I've seen videos where people are actually dragging themselves to their car after leg day. Is that how it's supposed to feel, that you can't even walk at all?
No.
Or is that okay?
No. What's happened there is somebody who's probably taken either time out of the gym and they went too crazy. Like I tell people, the first time you train legs, man, like just light, because you want to be sore. You want to know you worked a muscle. But if you got to that point where you're going to sit down in the toilet, and you're like, you know what I mean? Like, it just hurts everything. Like that means you went too far. You did too much. So like the first time you just go through the bar, just squat the bar, just like fucking, and as you get older, I recommend people use the Smith machine. You can drop the bucket, meaning you can go past the regular. And if you're in danger, you don't have to worry about going down and breaking your neck. The only danger about a Smith machine is people like, all right, a friend of mine who's in a pro body, actually not a friend. He's kind of he's a good dude, but his brother's a cunt. But anyway, so his father died down in the basement, man, choked himself to death with a fucking
Smith machine.
Smith machine on decline bench pressing.
Is it because I'm looking at it here? It doesn't have wires. So how the fuck did he, like, what is it that
he was? Well, decline bench is when your knees are, well, you're on a decline, your body's on a decline, so you bring the bar down to your collarbone. And you just, you do it that way. Decline benching works your lower pecs the same way, like the incline bench press works your upper chest. See, that's most people's problem. They have overdeveloped lower pecs. And bodybuilding, when you turn sideways, you do that side pose. Like you want your upper chest to stick out off your collarbone. Like you want your upper chest to stick as far out as your bottom pecs. And most people don't work it like that, Like that's bodybuilding. Like I tell everybody, do squats, bench pressing, and deadlifts when they're first starting out to add the strength, the core muscle. It all works your core the best, and then move to the heavier free weights and stuff. When you get, you know what I mean, you build a foundation.
Yeah, there was one workout that as a guy that wasn't into hardcore heavy lifting or anything like that. This one I liked. It was called a 5x5 workout, and it was nothing fancy, just overhead press, bench press, deadlift, squats. That's it. Sorry. What was the one where you? What was the? There was sorry, it wasn't. Fuck. There was one where you put your back parallel to the ground, your upper body, and then you grab that bar and you race it towards you. What's that called? Anyway, that was
that's the upright row. Like if you're standing up looking in a mirror and you have your hands down by your side with the bar and you bring the bar straight up to your chin. Is that what you're talking about? That's an upright row. That's for your traps.
Okay, so essentially what it was they call it 5x5 because you do 5 sets, 5 reps. That's it. Not more. Yeah,
that's good. I mean, the only problem is I'm not a fan. I just think it's too much. You don't want like, all right, say for instance, like I did one major body part with sometimes a minor, but I would try to do maybe like, it's hard because if you're on steroids, you can do it a little different, but you don't want, like I would do chest and I would do chest and biceps, right? Because that's separate. There's two different muscles. And I would do shoulders and tries. I did back and legs by themselves, though, because they're so big, your back and your legs, you don't have the energy. You're not going to. So if you do your legs first, I would do calves, obviously, with leg day, but I would do calves also twice a week because it's a fast twitch fiber and it's the hardest to grow. I mean, look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. His calves never grew. He got implants. The fuck. That's why if you look at all his early, dude, absolutely. Look at all his early pitches when he was 16, 17 in Austria. It's always posed in water or it's cut off at the knees. You don't see the picture below his knees. He had no calves. Yeah. So Weeder put in, and then all of a sudden when he got skinny, his fucking calves were still huge because he had implants. But
Jimmy, I used to do that too. I used to do the water trick, but I had water all the way up to my neck. But I wanted to ask you something. I got them all, baby. I got all the lame jokes today. No, but I wanted to ask you, somebody in the chat is saying they want to get into the Chris Benoit thing. Are you familiar with the Chris Benoit case and the wrestler?
Benoit?
He was a Canadian wrestler. He ended up murdering his family. And they said that it was the steroids that fucked up his brain. But then some people think that it was impact, that it was CTE from all the impact. Now, let me look it up and see what they have to say about that. I'll show you the picture, too, of the guy.
I remember him. Yeah, the Chris Benoit. There were two of them. They were the wrestling. There was two Benoit brothers, or I know there was two French Canadians. They were jacked out of their fucking minds back in the WWE days. Yeah, the Benoit.
Yeah, this guy ended up whacking his family. Apparently, there's a conspiracy theory that he didn't kill him, that he was set up. But I mean, I don't want to even get into that because I don't know too much about it. But it was this guy. I know. Let me show you this dude here. Probably French Canadian, like you said. I mean, Benoit, come on. And check this out, Jimmy. It says here on Google, Benoit's body contained 10 times the normal level of testosterone, as well as amounts of the anti-anxiety drug Xanax. I mean, if you're mixing Xanax with the steroids, is that a bad combination? Or?
Well, see, Xanax is weird because Xanax is a depressant. That's usually not an aggressive medication. That doesn't usually make people violent. It makes them zombies. You know what I mean? That it would make more sense if he was on meth, up for 4 days, hearing spiders farting. What was that? You know what I mean? They get all skitsy and shit, and they rearrange their sock drawer 30 times, and the dog starts talking to them because they haven't slept. And literally, some of those meth heads, tweakers, they'll go weeks without sleeping. You can imagine. I mean, dude, have you ever gone a couple of days with no sleep? I'm talking no sleep. You start hearing voices. You'll talk to yourself because what happens, you get into this, like if you're just sitting still, you're awake, but you'll start having a dream because your body's just not used to it. And literally your body falls asleep or you're awake and you'll almost go into a dream state. And people will answer questions when you're wicked exhausted. No. You're like, who are you talking? Oh, sorry, shit. I was just talking to somebody. Like, it's so bizarre. Now, imagine that times, like, and the only reason why you're still awake is because of all the methamphetamine in you. It's why so many people, you hear so many crazy murder stories from people on meth, chopping up half their fucking family and shit. It's crazy.
Well, I was going to ask you.
Because the dog was talking to him.
I know you were like the son of Sam. I know you were a hockey guy. Were you playing hockey while juicing as well?
No, I stopped playing hockey because it ate muscle.
Oh, okay. So, do you think you would have killed somebody if you would have been playing hockey with roids?
No, I would have played terribly because I was like, my game was quickness. You know what I mean? And speed. I was a fast skater, and being smaller, I had to be like quicker than all the bigger guys. Especially back then, hockey was a lot more violent. You know what I mean? Look nowadays, man, just put your stick on a dude's hands in the NHL and it's hooking. So back then, man, it was mugging. Like you could fucking pound on a dude. So it was a much more violent game.
You wanted to stay quick and light so that you could move like your idol, Guy Lafleur. The great Guy Lafleur.
Guy Lafleur, yeah. Hey, pass the puck, huh? Pass the puck.
That's a good accent.
Throw me down the stairs. Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I see all kinds of French Canadian kids all the time.
Hey, speaking
what's up? You want to pass the puck, huh?
Didn't you tell me that we were talking about that hockey the other day, and didn't you say that the guys now are huge compared to what they were before? Why would they like? Is it like the football guys that are 300 pounds and they can move quickly, or like, what do they take?
It's a combination of two things, and I gave this a lot of thought the other night because I actually 2 days ago I watched a game from 1991 that I was at. the Bruins Canadians, right? And I watched it. And I'm like, oh my God, look at how slow this game is. Like just watching the way they were skating. But there was also no two-line passing back then. They opened up hockey when they made the two-line pass. But here's the thing with skates. Skates now are so much stiffer. And they made a graphite and different materials, and it's so much lighter. And so it's the skates. It's made it's right along all the way. Look at hockey from the 1950s, dude. You would hold up a pair of skates. And after three or four times, I mean, you would hold them up and the boot would collapse onto the side. They would just, there was no ankle support. So the game was so slow. And as the game has progressed, so has in the skates, but it's always been because of the skates. And the skates today are they're made where the game is so fast. It's mind boggling to me that the level, the speed they play that game. If you're at ice level, like, I don't know if anybody played hockey, but to see the way these guys at the level, the speed they play at, it's just crazy. But yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine?
And they're huge too. 1991, a big guy was 6'1". I think the average height in the NHL was 5'11", 6 foot in the late 80s. Now the average is 6'2".
Jeez, Luis. I mean, so yeah, they're essentially they're going all out with that stuff, and people like it, man. People want, like you said, hey, don't you prefer faster games, more better athletes? That's the future. We're living in the future.
It is. It's fast. I miss the fighting, and I'm barbaric. I miss it. I've been watching the playoffs. I watch every playoff game, not just the Bruins are already bounced out. Like, I watched Toronto lose, which to me is shocking with the money they spend and the fucking talent that they have. And Toronto's the mecca of hockey. Like, this fans up there, like, suicidal, man. 6 years in a row bounced in the first round in a game 7. They played it at home this year. They were already up 3 games to 2 in a best of 7, and they blew it again. They did play Tampa, but like, I watch all hockey games. I'm into hockey the way I'm into boxing. So it's nuts how fast it is and big. But they hit a lot of stick work now because they don't drop the gloves and fight. Because now you get an instigator that you can get a 10-minute of misconduct. Back then you would have like guys who just drop the gloves in free-for-alls all the time. Playoffs, it was a guaranteed 2 or 3 fights. Nowadays, I put it this way, I've yet to see a fight. I've watched 17 fucking playoff games, at least, from beginning to end. I haven't seen a fucking fight yet. Not one. It's disheartening.
That sucks, man. Well, I mean, listen, you still got boxing. That's where you still get some violence there.
I know. There's still good checking and shit. I just, like last night, it was real close. Oh, for instance, Calgary, Edmonton. It was going to be a fight. You can always tell because once you blow a team out in the playoffs, they want payback. Say you're losing by 4 goals, 3 minutes left. Now it's time to get payback. We're not going to win the game. I don't have to worry about getting a penalty and hurting my team. I'm going to fucking get the dude I wanted to fight. That's usually when all the fights. So last night, like 20-second mark, a bunch of guys tied up. The 2 guys were both to fight, but one dude fell to the ice. Cassian from fucking Edmonton fell to the ice. So what did the referees do? They called the game. The horn went. I was like, what are they doing? Because I'm like, okay, 20 seconds left. They're going to send the goons out. We're going to have a good old fucking dust up. They called the game. And the announcer, they're just calling the game. They're not going to put up with that tomfoolery. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, the fans, dude, I don't care how savage of a hockey fan you are, right? Anybody, you go to a fucking NHL game, you're not going to get the reaction you get like when they fucking drop the gloves. Even the grandmothers are up screaming. It's such an intricate part of hockey. Yeah, it's so sad to me that they're just trying to, the libtards in Canada are trying to push it out of the game.
It's that's like when you're taking a nice, you've been holding it in, and then you finally go take a piss, and then you got to stop halfway through. You can't do it. It's the same thing. It's a sin. It's sinful. Somebody in the chat, JumpTube, says nobody in the world. He's talking about a documentary where I think he's talking about sleep deprivation. That's an interesting point because we're talking about PEDs, and listen, PEDs, most people only think steroids. In fact, that's one of the most common misconceptions too. When people say, "Well, he's in boxing, for example, he's taking steroids." Steroids, you can take them for recovery, but one of the big things for boxers would be EPO, which is for cardio.
Yep.
And I'm interested, man. What if one day, because there was an episode about the X-Files about this group of Vietnam vets that had been given an experimental drug so that they didn't need to sleep, and they fucked up, and now they couldn't sleep. and they didn't go nuts, but they were having like issues. And I'm thinking that's why they would give these guys speed and all that. Ever since World War II, they've been trying to experiment with how to get these guys to be operational.
The ultimate soldier.
With the least, yeah, but nobody's, Jimmy, sleep is still a mystery, right? Nobody knows why we sleep or why we dream.
Yeah, we don't dream until we get, and it's so weird. It's interconnected. You don't get, your body doesn't recover like until you hit the fourth realm of sleep. I think is not when you get REM between 4 and 6. You get the rapid eye movement. So that's the only time your body actually recovers and starts healing, is when you get to that. So you can sleep for 6 hours. Like I used to tell people who would tell you, oh, they smoke weed before they go to bed. I'm like, but dude, I know it might help you fall asleep, but it's false sleep. It's like empty calories. You're not going to go into REM when you're still stoned. Chemical induced sleeps, you don't go into REM. The only drug that ever worked for that, put you in REM right away, was GHB. It knocked you right into fucking REM sleep.
And that's
like within seconds.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the reason why it's a date rape drug. You just go right out. You go into a G hole. But you can sleep 2 hours and you feel like you slept 10 because you're in REM sleep the whole time. REM sleep, you go in and out of it. Most people all night. You get, you know what I mean? You're really out of it, then you come out of it. But whatever. But that's the only time your body will actually grow is in REM sleep. Now, what did he just say? That it's impossible for what? You said that somebody in the chat said, I thought you said the word impossible. What, to be awake?
No, I forget what. No, I forget. No, but it's essentially we have to dream, we have to sleep, and we have to dream, and that's one of the last frontiers. Because look at us now, man. You can create, especially if guys have good genetics, you can take them to a whole other level with PEDs. But sleep, that's one thing that they haven't been able to hack. You've heard the term, right? Biohacking. That's what they call it. When people are taking kratom to optimize, or people are even microdosing LSD and psychedelics over at Silicon Valley. That's what a lot of these guys do, apparently. They microdose on psychedelics, supposedly to increase their creativity and to come up with solutions to their problems. I mean, it just goes all over the place. But sleep, that's one that they haven't figured. They don't even know, like, how can they even get rid of it or circumvent it if they don't even know why it's there in the first place? I mean, they know why, like you said, recovery and all that, but they don't know the full answer, which is mysterious, man. Very mysterious.
Yeah, like why do we need to go to sleep? Like why can't we recover without sleeping? You know what I mean? Like, why does it take sleep? I know it's such a crazy thing, but if they can eventually tap into that, you know what I mean? Like tap into fucking, because yeah, if you can tap into dreams, the dream world, that's the whole thing with right there. That's crazy.
Supposedly, Carl Jung said that he could. Yeah, Carl Jung said that he could supposedly enter an inner world without drugs or anything. Just, I don't know how he developed the ability, but he said, and he used to talk to his archetypes, the old man, the woman, the lover, and all that. And I'm thinking, what the fuck? Either he was crazy, or like you saad, the dream world. It is possible to induce it at will. And
well, if you focus, there's some people who have they have ways of, you can get to a certain dream time by, like, if you I forget what it's like, almost the same thing if you go into those tubs that cut off, you float in that water. It's the way to test body fat too, that same fluid. But it cuts off all, it cuts off, depth, exactly. What's it called?
Sensory deprivation tanks.
Thank you, brother. You're going on. And but what they do, if they pump in certain smells, like the smell of like suntan lotion, that coconut smell in the air, like salt air, whatever. Mm-hmm. If you're like thinking of a certain thing and they're pumping that in, you're in that, so you're smelling that. They're constantly doing that in the army. Like you said, trying to learn how to control that, because as you know, we only use 18% of our brain. Like, so they say if we even used half of it, we could start telepathing, moving shit without touching it. So they say, so they're always trying to tap into these unknown things. But those are the tanks that they use. It's a gel, like you lay in it. It completely makes you feel like you're weightless. I don't know if they're trying to do something in the womb. I don't know but that's for that reason. They're pumping sounds and smells to control your dreams.
Yeah, man, that's why people might say, well, why are you guys talking about that? Because that's a performance-enhancing drug. Or maybe not drug, but if you call it a device or practice, whatever. I mean, just look at breathing properly. This is one thing that I haven't gotten around to yet. I practicing proper breathing, because sometimes I'm holding it in, I realize, or I'm tense. Like, especially if it's a hectic show, for example. I've talked to you about this, Jimmy. If it's a hectic show, I realize, what the fuck? I'm a little tense over here. Relax, loosen up, take a deep breath. And yeah, man, you start taking deep breaths, and all of a sudden, it's opening up the cavities and everything. I mean, it's the cranial cavities. It's very important to do all of that. And you get the guy, Wim Hof, the Iceman, not the killer, the other dude, the one that can withstand very low levels of temperature. I mean, if you would have told somebody, a physician 100 years ago, hey, you can actually submerge this guy in a vat of ice, and his skin, he's not going to get any gangrene or anything. They would have gone, what the fuck? You're fucking nuts. Get out of here. This guy's doing it. How's he doing it? That's why they're trying to study the dude. So when people say this is impossible, that's impossible, hey, naturally and with PEDs, the sky's the limit. We're just getting started. That's what we're realizing.
Yeah, that's crazy. That what you were just talking about. That's nuts. Guys can they lay in that ice. They lay in ice and like, oh, I mean, I'd jump out screaming like a woman. You know what I mean? That kind of cold. And that motherfucker just lays in it like it's a Tempur-Pedic bed.
Yeah, man. I mean, the mind over matter. It is possible. I mean, also, I don't know. Have you ever been in a sweat lodge?
A what? Sweat lodge? Oh, yeah. You go in a teepee type thing. And they pour water over rocks.
But you've been there?
Yeah, sweats out all the poisons.
Right, but I'm asking, have you ever been to one?
Oh yeah, up in New Hampshire. Yep.
Holy shit!
Up at Lake Winnipesaukee, they had them at the Bike a Week. They had sweat lodges. Sweat all the booze out. Yeah.
Oh, is that what they used it for?
Dude. It was fucking like $5. You go in there, and it was like a teepee set up, and they had the guy would come in with rocks that they would take out of a fire, and they would put it in the pit. And you just go in there with your jeans on, man, but you would sweat. Oh my God, the steam and the humidity. You would come out, you're like, it felt good, but yeah, you want to sweat all the toxins if you've been partying hard and shit. So yeah, there were these sweat lodge teepees at Laconia during Bike Week, so I tried it. It was great. I wasn't even drunk the night before. I just wanted to try it, man, but it was nice. But you can smell it, like if people have been eating fucking garlic and shit, you can smell it in the tent.
Yeah, right. So
it all comes out.
So no Italians in the sweat lodge, but you know what?
Yeah, get rid of fucking get.
I'm kidding, but listen, it's interesting though.
I'm not.
Oh, come on. No, but you know what? They say that it's because that's why people are into the sauna thing now, whether it's infrared or an actual dry sauna. With the stones and the water, because by sweating, you're actually stimulating. I forget what they said it stimulates, and they say there's benefit. Now, some people are contesting that. Some people say, well, there's not enough studies, blah, blah, blah. But I tell you what, man, when I jog and it's just an aerobic type workout, and I'm just, because I've told you this before, I've got the genes of a guy that can run an hour straight without getting tired. I'm like a fucking Ethiopian. It feels fucking good, man. And now I'm wondering, is it just the endorphin, or is it maybe the fact that you're sweating constantly throughout a long period of time?
No, it's the endorphin. You get runner's high. I experienced it once, and it's a definite real thing because I've taken enough regular drugs to know a high, and I got it once. No, I was lucky enough to get it once. Dude, I'll never forget it. I was when I was boxing, and my buddy Louie and my girlfriend Nadine Black. I've talked about her on the show. Right? It was back. She was the mafia, the Irish mobster's daughter, but she was sitting on the bench and like, Jimmy, come on. I'm like, just one more. I didn't want to stop. It hit me because I went down the ULO track because I didn't like running on the cement. It's just not good for your knees. It's just not good to walk on cement. Believe it or not, think about it, man. Human body has been walking on earth. Yeah. Mainly dirt, right? For thousands of years. It wasn't until this past fucking 200 years that we started walking on concrete. Why do you think there's all these hip dysplasias and knee things? The human body, it takes generations to get used to shit. I'm not telling you something you don't know, but like that's weird. And I knew that even as young man. I knew the dangers of running on cement. Plus, I used to like to run in my boxing shoes, my Asic Tigers.
Jimmy, you're not telling me anything I don't already know. Impress me. Hit me with something I don't know.
Well, that's pretty hard. But anyways, that one night I did get that runner's high. I never got it before, and I never got it after. I got it that night. I was running by myself, and it was a kind of a cloudy night. It was windy. I'll never forget. It was a fall evening, crisp air, dude. And it was, dude, I felt like, dude, it was crazy. Like it's not a high. Like I would probably closest I could say was probably GHB. It's
Whoa.
weird, tingly kind of like. Remember, you get kind of. You said you felt it, right? The endorphin high.
Sure,
You just get like all like and you don't ever want to stop running.
But
Some guys get it all the time and they become addicted to it.
But like when you were boxing, you didn't do road work?
No, I did road work all the time, yeah, but I just never got that high. Like that high I got that night. Yeah, it was crazy. Maybe because I overthought it other times. I don't know. I don't know why. Just that one night I got it, but I was running by myself too. A lot of times I ran with people. It was always guys would run from the gym, so we were always talking when we were running.
Maybe that's what. Yeah,
I think that has something to do with it because when I was by myself, like you said, I focused on my breathing. And I was by myself. One of the few times I ran a long distance by myself. I ended up doing like 12 miles that night.
But you would think, though,
I was only going to do like 6. But.
You would think that if the endorphins kick in, you're going to get that runner's high.
Yeah, no, maybe because of talking. Because, yeah, we'd always talk and shooting the shit. I try not to run on the street. Like, we'd all choose. If there was 3 of us or 4 of us, whatever, like, one day we could all choose. Some guys would want to run right from the gym. I always wanted to pile on the car, go across the bridge to the Yule track. And they're like, it's boring running in a circle. I'm like, it's better for your fucking knees, dummy.
Exactly.
Plus, because again, I used to like to run in my boxing shoes. Because I wanted to be able, I wanted that feeling.
Smart.
You know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to, because like, it's weird. If you never wear boxing shoes and then you go and wear them, it's strange. You know what I mean? They don't feel like regular sneakers.
Yeah,
so
sneakers,
I got used to them.
Yeah, I don't like the sneakers, especially I don't like the thick because like you said, we've been walking for millennia. The shoes are unnatural. Sneakers are not something that we used to our bodies are used to. You've got the thick soles; they're lifting you from the ground. The higher you are from the ground, the less on equilibrium you are. It fucks up your feet in the long run. It softens them up. That's why there's a new fad now for a couple of years now, where people are actually trying to walk barefoot. Now, of course, that's dangerous if you're in an urban environment. Broken bottles and needles and fucking botulism. So, but in theory, yeah, you're supposed to be walking around barefoot, so you can spread those toes. And by the way,
have you seen the new sneakers? They're made like bare feet. They look like bare feet, like you put them over in each individual toe. I want to get a pair of those. I've never had them. They look awesome because I agree 100% everything you're saying. In fact, it was a show. Discovery had it on for a while. It was those 2 guys. One guy had 2 ponytails on either side.
Yeah,
I forget. He used to wear a bandana.
Yeah, dual survival.
Yeah, dual survival. I got to watch that dude on YouTube. Like, he's totally different off the show. His house is gorgeous. It's in the desert. He built it into the earth. He never wears shoes. And he's the first dude I really started hearing talking about the barefoot connected to the earth. And you can build up calluses, too. Some dudes can just look at fucking in Africa. Those motherfuckers, I mean, there's the American dudes, they got the boots on and everything. These dudes are walking over everything in their barefoot. They'll pull over and they just pull a fucking 3-inch thing out of the bottom of their foot like it's nothing. They got so much callus there and whatnot. He's become used to it.
The guy's name was, that you're talking about, Cody Lundin. He's got a house in Arizona, I think.
Yep.
And
Cody Lundin.
And this fucker, he's about as good as he gets when it comes to survive. Well, because he never liked the show, by the way, because he thought wasn't.
He never did.
He said that the point of the show, of a survival situation, is to get out of there as quickly as possible and survive. Meanwhile, the show was about, they had him hunting and everything as if they were gonna live in those conditions. So he said it didn't represent exactly what a survival situation is. But take a look at his feet, man. These are. He's got the whole
That's
foot
crazy.
is calloused. Yeah. He walks around.
It's a whole. It's like it's the bottom of a shoe. It's no different. It's probably as hard as the bottom of a shoe. And dude, I'll tell you exactly the episode that he that other guy who replaced the first dude. The first dude was kind of a hippie. The second dude, Dave, was a military guy. He killed a rattlesnake. Like, he took his knife out and made this move. It was so goofy. He went over and he slit it, he chopped its head off. And fucking Cody was like, they couldn't even edit it out. Obviously, they tried to edit what they could, but he was so seething, and then you end up. He talked about it later. The reason why, if you see the scene, it was filmed like 11 in the morning, they wrapped up that scene. It was already getting dark because he had to go away for like 3 hours. He says, if I would have stayed there, I would have punched him in his face because he killed that rattlesnake. He says, I'm not going to camp this area with that thing nearby. And he's like, that fucking moron. They're all around us. That thing didn't want to hurt you. Like, he's connected with the earth. Killing for the sake of killing to him was disgusting. And I don't blame him. That's when my respect really grew for him when he said that. Because people who just kill snakes for the sake of killing them, that's just their ignorance.
The guy you're talking about, Dave, was the one of the original guys.
The second castmate. He was first replacement.
But Dave Canterbury, he was okay. Him and Cody Lundin. I think you're talking about the other dude that they replaced Dave Canterbury with.
Oh, Matt. Yeah, was his name Matt?
I looked into him, Jimmy. I looked into him, and apparently, because he claimed that he'd been in Special Force something, I think even they talked to some of his ex-comrades. None of them liked him. In fact, I think he got kicked out of the army for behavioral problems. He was a hothead, and you can see that in the shows. Like I remember there's an episode where you mentioned that the snake, and then there's another one where he sees a carcass and he goes, "I'm gonna go eat that," and Cody goes, "Well, I mean, it's not really a priority to eat a carcass. Plus, you're gonna get sick and you're gonna lose liquids and blah blah." Like, no, I'm gonna go eat it, and he goes to eat it. It's like that's what I think. That's when Cody Lundin said, "You know what? Enough's enough. This show's going off the rails with this fucker."
Yeah, he laughed at him during that episode. Remember, he stood up and he laughed at him, and that dude got real pissed because Cody wasn't taking him serious.
Yeah,
he's like, "This is ridiculous. Like, you're gonna eat that thing?" Yeah, and remember the smell? It was it had flies all over it, and Cody was like 20 feet away laughing at him.
Yeah, I mean, it's just completely unnecessary. Eating a carcass, you still have calories. Like he said, if you eat something rotten, and then you get stomach sick and you vomit, you're going to lose precious liquids. That's the most dangerous thing. You can survive without food, but liquids, that's even more dangerous, surviving without them. So, or trying to survive without them, rather. So, yeah, that show went off the rails real quick.
Yeah, then he drank his piss. Remember that? It was another episode. He drank his piss, and Dave called him an asshole. Cody Lundin called him an asshole because they bleeped it out, but you can still tell he was saying asshole.
Yeah.
Because you're an asshole. Yeah, because he was drinking piss. He's like, do you understand how sick that gets you?
He's got a book. Cody Lundin's got a book about preparing if society ever falls, the grid ever falls. And it's a very good book. I think he's got a degree in psychology. So first he tells you how to prepare psychologically for a survival situation. Bucho knows. Bucho saw the show. He goes, he wasn't going to eat it, but take valuable stuff from it. Yeah, I mean, the guy was a nut job, man. The other host, the new guy. Anyway, Jimmy, I wanted to ask you too. So about the going back to the Roy thing, because we're almost done here, and we didn't even scratch the surface. I wanted to ask you in terms of working out, like whether you had the steroids or not. Did you enjoy the experience? I mean, when looking back at it.
Yes. No, I did. Yes, I did. Overall, yes. I'm glad I did. I met my wife, and she was a wonderful person. I fucked up that marriage and shit. That's on me, but. You know, I made wonderful friends. Never in the actual bodybuilding world. Most of them, like I said, are narcissistic and the judgmental, and it's just kind of weird. But in the life, though, yes, because overall it's a clean life because you're not, doing stupid shit. You're not going out getting fucking shit-faced on the weekends because it undermined everything you did. There's nothing worse you can do to the human body than drink alcohol.
Huh.
As far as bodybuilding, because it's such a foreign substance. The other narcotic you take, your body reproduces. Cocaine, heroin, meth, whatever you're taking, your body already produces that, but this just explodes it. Alcohol, your body doesn't produce. Ethanol or whatever, the alcohol that gets you drunk. That's the reason why that and another narcotic that you talked about earlier, benzodiazepines, Valium, Klonopin, Xanax, well, they call them Xanny bars, all that family, benzodiazepine, that and alcohol. That's the reason why those two things, when you see if addicts come in off the streets going to jail, man, they'd suffer. Dude, they like when I tell you, like heroin addicts would suffer, but nothing like alcoholics. And fucking benzo dudes, they would go out all the time, just standing there, poof, they're on the ground, seizing out. Codes were called all the time on alcoholics and benzo heads. In fact, it got to the point where They started sending them, not for heroin, but for alcoholics and benzodiazepines. They would send them for 30 days benzos. They would send them to 30 days to Bridgewater first before sending them to state prison. So what ended up happening, criminals and junkies, who were doing heroin, started taking benzos because they knew if they got popped and they were going to go to jail, they'd go 30 days to a clean out first instead of right into a can. But yeah, benzos can kill you. Alcohol and benzos coming off cold because you have seizures. Heroin, cocaine, you might think you're going to die, but you're not. It won't kill you.
Were you popping the roofies that were hitting off benzodiazepine 2 milligrams or the...
I'm still amazed at how quickly Gonzalo it rolled off his tongue. He even gave the dose and everything. Listen to it again.
Were you popping the roofies that were hitting off benzodiazepine 2 milligrams or the...
Benzodiazepine 2 milligrams. Fucking Gonzalo, man. All right, shout out to Gonzalo.
The 2 milligrams are good ones.
Well, you know what, Jimmy, I wanted to say something about that. My last thoughts on this working out thing, whether you're doing CrossFit, bodybuilding, jogging, long distance running, whatever. I'll give you a little anecdote of why it's useful. There was a guy, this is an anecdote that I read. I don't know, I'll Google it one day to see if I can find it. But there was a dude, apparently, he wanted to kill himself. And he didn't know how to go about it, doing it. So one day he said, he clicked and he says, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run till I drop. That's how I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to exhaust myself. So he started running. And of course, he realized you can't kill yourself by running because eventually your body gives out before you can keep going. So he drops onto the ground exhausted. All of a sudden he realizes, hey, I feel pretty good. So he tries it again the next day. Well, I don't know if it was the next day. Maybe he would have been too sore or whatever. But he tries it. Guess what? The running, he got the runner's high, and it was, the story, they try to paint it as if, wow, the running saved his life. Maybe it wasn't that one thing that saved his life, but it was enough to get him committed to something, and it gave him the natural endorphins to sort of, motivate him to get out of that depression. And he ended up becoming a long-time runner, and he lost the urge to kill himself. So all I'm saying is, working out as men, we have that urge to give ourselves a mission. And then it's also, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's encouraging. When you start working out, and then after a month you look at the gains, whether it's running, boxing, whatever, and you go, whoa, especially in boxing, for example, you start realizing, whoa, I'm getting better at this, and I know how to box now. And every week you're seeing different things. That's encouraging. So anybody out there that feels like, wow, my life's in a bit of a slump or whatever, get into a bit of a workout. Lifting, boxing, a martial arts, jogging. Yeah, man, it could save your life. Worst case scenario, it gives you a reason to live. A little something extra to spice life up with.
My wife and I have been with her for 15 years, but well, his father was a recovering alcoholic. He's got like 30-something years sober now, but when he stopped drinking, he started jogging. And what happened, though, this is a crazy story. He got the runner's high. He was able to get it because he ran by himself. He got it so often that high replaced the alcohol. Like it was another high, and he realized he became very addicted to it. Anyways, he's an attorney. He ran so much. He was ran Boston marathons, New York City marathons. He ran so much by the late 40s. When he was in his 40s, he had to have his hips replaced.
Holy shit.
He overdid it. He couldn't stop running. Could not. They go on vacation and run 10 miles every day. So yeah. So you can, like anything, you can even abuse running.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's everything in moderation in life. Absolutely. Everything. I don't care if it's sex, anything. You get carried away, and it can become a problem.
Hey, listen, sex, you gotta get it. I'm not gonna besmirch anybody for that. But absolutely, Jimmy. And especially, like you said, running in the pavement, not so good for the knees long term. Not so good for the knees. Then again, I haven't had any problems. Not good at all. Then again, I haven't had any problems yet. So, I mean, it's me. It's the BDA. What do you want? Well, Jimmy, very enlightening episode. We didn't even scratch the surface of everything, and we still got tons of stories to hear from you, your personal experience. We're gonna save it for another episode. Any last thoughts? Any last words before we go?
Well, all I could say on this subject, to keep it on this subject, if you're gonna take them, make sure you can trust the person you're getting them from, and don't overdo it. You don't have to take as much as you think you do, and if you can afford it, do it with the growth hormone because you'll keep your gains. You know what I mean? You will keep your gains. You won't lose them like you do on steroids. And don't reuse a needle. You don't have to always wipe it with a swab, but don't reuse old ones. But again, make sure you're not doing counterfeit and whatever reputation it has, but make sure it's good. Not no fly-by-night guy. You're beating him the first time in the gym, giving you a hell deal, because he's probably selling you. He's probably selling you peanut oil.
Yeah, if it's the guy selling
that, and I would say everybody else, try to avoid it if you have to, because then you don't have to worry about getting the right stuff and everything else. If you just do it with proper diet and eating, just work out in the morning, cut out your carbs late at night, and believe it or not, guys, do a little cardio in the morning, cut out your carbs at night, and you can look really good without steroids. You absolutely can. You can look fabulous without steroids.
There you go.
Steroids
man.
just brings it to another level of stupidity.
And do it the right. If you want to use, do it the right way. Go get a doctor and everything, right? Don't start buying them from the back of a truck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Get blood work done. Make sure you got nothing going on with you that you're going to aggravate by, taking that.
Well,
Outside of that, God bless, man.
Jimmy, thanks a bunch, man. Really appreciate you coming through as always with the information. Yeah.
Anytime, brother.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Always appreciate it. People saying they love the episode. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. So check us out here. Don't forget to spread the Second Renaissance Silver Gospel. It has to be put out there. We're writing it right now. You guys are part of it too. Don't think you're not. You're involved in this now. So pucker up, Buttercup. The other thing is we're going to continue Second Renaissance Week. This has been Second Renaissance Week. Tomorrow I'm going to try to relay with the Logical Man. See if he wants to do a show on the MGTOW issue. We've been talking about this for a while, and we need to do it before the end of Second Renaissance Week. In any event, don't forget to like, subscribe. Shout out to everybody out there.